Pranesh M, one of India's brightest rising stars. Dmitry Andreikin, a battle-hardened grandmaster. Nihal Sarin, a speed chess sensation, lightning fast with razor-sharp tactical instincts. Hans Niemann, bold, fearless and unpredictable. Alireza Firouzja, a fearless super grandmaster, unleashing creativity, aggression and world-class brilliance. Arjun Erigaisi, India's attacking powerhouse, bringing explosive chess and an unbreakable fighting spirit. Nodirbek Abdusatorov, the Uzbek prodigy, combining ice-cold precision with championship-winning composure. Gukesh Dromaraju, the youngest world champion, fearless, relentless, and ready to conquer every challenge.
End is the only way we could have summarized it, because we have so many players. We have 3 players up for contention, and it is anyone who could win.
Anyone indeed. And I think we've seen some fighting chess, some exciting chess. And each day we've seen, games get sharper and sharper. The number of results have dramatically increased. So it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see how this tournament takes its final turn, Sahaj, and whose doorstep does the prize land to?
Absolutely, because we have got, if we can have the standings on the board, we have Alireza Firouzja leading the pack with half a point, who is playing with the white pieces against guess who side. He's playing against Arjun Erigaisi, and that's the match that's going to be the most important, because that's the match that's going to decide who will win this event.
Wow, 7 rounds. So Firouzja is on 4 points, a +2 score. And he seems to be on path with 0 losses, right? No major mistakes. In fact, he's really started off well. In fact, the first 2 rounds were his 2 wins ahead. So I think he's just kind of become a bit stable now. He's not taking too many risks. And the final game, he doesn't really need to do so as well. He has the white pieces against one of the contenders who was chasing him. That's Arjun. And if he can get a stable draw, that will almost seal his chances, because both his challengers have the black pieces today, Sahaj.
Exactly, but that one of those black pieces is Nodirbek, who's known for pushing regardless of the color, and the other one is known as the Madman. Yeah. So I think it's going to be anything but a safe game, I think, with both of these players, and it's going to be so much fun to cover it.
Indeed. And I think we are just minutes away from liftoff. An early start today on the final day. We had to make room, Sahaj, because just in case there are any tie breaks, you never know. We have, of course, 3 players in contention for first place. And if just in case 2 finish on the same number of points, we are going to have a tie break, and it's 2 games of 3 + 2. So if we do reach a tie break, I think it's only going to get faster and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be so much fun to watch, because we have no idea who's going to win in that scenario either. But I think there is only one scenario where that could happen, because one player is going to be on 4.5 regardless, between Arjun and Alireza, of course, because one is on 4 points, one is on 3.5. And if Nodirbek manages to take down the ever solid Andreikin Dmitry, who has drawn all of his games so far, then we can have a tiebreak, and it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, the good news is 3 players in the hunt, so we still don't know who the winner is. The suspense, of course, still there till the very last second of the Chennai Grand Masters. But of course, we have 2 other lineups. We have Nihal versus Pranesh. Pranesh, after his epic win yesterday, will be looking forward to kind of continuing his run. But even more importantly, Gukesh Dromaraju versus Hans Niemann. Gukesh having the white pieces. I would say maybe not the worst form of his life, but of course, he must be feeling not so happy about his play, himself in general. I don't know how he comes out of this rot right now. He's just at the cusp of, falling below the 2700 mark as well in the ratings. So this game is very crucial, because when he enters the Olympiad, the difference between 2702 and 2697 is huge.
Exactly. I think for anyone, when you hit the 2700 mark, I mean, that's a big milestone for any chess player. And dropping below that is, it affects your confidence, it affects your play. but he is right on the cusp of, dropping that. But at the same time, he is playing with the white pieces. We know how strong Gukesh is, when he's back in his form. I 100% believe that today, I think he might pull off a surprise.
Let's see what that surprise is. And meanwhile, we should have the pairings on the screen once, if possible, because I still feel I think Firuzja has a tough choice to make, right? Because he could just go for the win. He has the white pieces. He's been playing fantastic chess, and he has his, luck in his own hands. If he wins, then nobody can catch up with him. The other matches simply don't matter. Or he can play it safe and then, kind of hope for a draw and then hope that Nodirbek does not beat, his opponent in the final round. So crucial matchup there, Sahaj. And how many results are we expecting?
I think that's a great point you have brought up, that for Alireza, it's not just Arjun that he's fighting against. It's also Nodirbek, because if he plays it safe, makes a draw, and then Nodirbek somehow manages to defeat Andrek, and he's, we know how strong Nodirbek is. If that actually happens, that's something that's going to run on his mind. So it's both of these players that have to play for a win today to guarantee, the first place. Let's see what happens. We see Arjun on the board, adjusting his pieces. He's ready for the battle.
Yeah.
Where is Firuzja?
Yeah, he's going to arrive any second in his lucky sweatshirt, Sahaj. He's not changed it at all for the entire event. That's the one he was wearing on the media day. That's the one he's been wearing through the entire tournament. So let's see if he sticks to it. Meanwhile, Arjun with the black pieces has a choice to make as well. It's tough to kind of play for a win with the black pieces, especially if your opponent is looking for a draw. So maybe he's also hoping that Firuzja kind of goes for the win, and tries to seal the deal in the classical itself. That would give him also an opportunity.
But playing safe and playing solid and playing for a draw are two very different things. He is up against someone who is known for his very chaotic opening preparation. We saw remnants of it. I mean, we've been seeing it for the last 10 years, but especially in this event, we saw it against Nodirbek, where he had that bishop e7, d6, f5, and he did not give a chance for Nodirbek to even try to play it safe. So for Firuzja, I think he will try to play a good game. I think he will try to be solid, but at the same time, he will keep his chances alive. But at the same time, look at that. Look at how focused Arjun is. He is 100% ready for the battle. It could be a very, very big match for him, because winning this could actually mean that he wins this tournament for the first time in his life.
Indeed, and we have a comment in the chat as well, how Arjun can sometimes falter at the last second, right? He's always about to win a super tournament, but then potentially misses out on it and finishes in second or third place. And that is true indeed. But also, I think it's a great deal when you always finish in second or third place. You never falter at all. So you can look at it both ways. But he was also the last Indian standing at the World Cup, for example, even though he faltered at the last stage. But yeah, can
World
be
Rapid and Blitz as well.
Yeah,
he
third
finished.
place.
He got bronze there. He won actually there we see the handshakes between the world champion and Hans Niemann. That's going to be a very, very interesting match to see. We see Gukesh adjusting his pieces. So, Sahil, question for you. Does Gukesh try to play a normal game today, or does he try to play it solid? Because I believe that if an event is not going your way, you should try to stop the bleeding. You should try to play it safe, and you should look for your chances. What are your thoughts on that?
I think knowing how Gukesh might be feeling, staying above 2700 in itself is at least going to give him some confidence. And I agree with you, stopping the bleeding is very important, because he's lost the last two games. You don't want to end a tournament on your home soil with 3 losses in a row anyways. So Gukesh should play something solid, because he's had winning positions, right? It's not like he's not created chances. I think it's just the conversion, the time management has kind of, not been perfect. So from his perspective, maybe a draw would not be a bad result. The bigger question on my mind is, what is Hans Niemann thinking? Because for him, it's a golden opportunity to be the world champion. He knows the champion is down. It's an opportunity to push him below 2700. And I think there's a hidden opportunity for him. So I think he will try his best as well. Same as Arjun, to win with the black pieces maybe.
100%. I think Hans will definitely try to push as well, because I remember once, it was not very long ago, that I lost 5 games in a row. And once you are in that zone, you are not thinking in your right frame of mind. I mean, you're not in your right frame of mind, and your opponents, like I remember, just to stop the bleeding, I offered a draw to my opponent after like move 3 or 4, and my opponent refused the draw, and later on explained to me that the only reason they refused the draw was because that I was not in my best shape. So
Yeah.
I think from Hans's perspective, maybe he tries to play, but at the same time, there's not. I mean, it doesn't change the standings much for Hans either. So we could see a fast draw here. We could see a solid game, but this is Gukesh. Gukesh always plays for the win, and that's why he became the world champion. I think he will also push, from his side, as he should, against someone like Hans. It's going to be a fun day. It is the last day, and I think you couldn't have written the story better.
Yeah, and I think he will have to look within himself, find that courage to really push after those 2 losses. He must not be feeling nice about his chess after the loss yesterday. We see handshakes, and there it is, lift off on the final day of the Quantbox Chennai Grand Masters, pawn to e4 by Gukesh. I think we'll have a couple of minutes of delay in this game. So let's go to the game, the star game, that is Firuzja versus Arjun. Because I feel like if this game ends a certain way, the tournament is basically over and Firuzja takes home the prize.
Exactly. And look at that. The first move of Arjun tells you that he is here to play. He would have gone for e4, e5 if it was a solid game that he wanted to go for. And look at that. Firuzja plays Alapin. That means Firuzja wants a solid game. He's okay with a draw. And that could have been a surprise for Arjun there, because I don't think this is expected from Firuzja, but not from Arjun. He goes d5. We are in the Alapin defense, the most solid setup against the Sicilian that you can go for. Takes the pawn on d5, and I'm expecting something crazy from Arjun here. Is it knight f6? Is it queen takes d5? He takes the pawn.
If you ask me honestly, I kind of like this for Arjun because first of all, c3 kind of hints at what Firuzja is looking for, right? He's okay maybe with a solid position, is not looking to, really, really push hard. And if an opportunity does arrive, he will capitalize on it, of course. But also from Arjun's perspective, maybe this is not the kind of position Firuzja would have. It's not in sync with his style. Like, he's somebody who's very dynamic. So maybe there's a hidden opportunity there for both the players of Firuzja to neutralize the game in the opening itself, remove any chances of Arjun winning, or there could be an opportunity, for Arjun as well to get Firuzja in uncharted territory. By the way, knight f6 played, knight f3, both the players playing very, very quickly so far.
Exactly. And if you go knight to c6, then this is the moment where Firuzja could actually just chop off the pawn on c5 and force the game into an endgame. And I think against the Sicilian, this is maybe the best approach, to try and go into the endgame if you want to have a solid game. That is, I think Arjun has made a move here. He has not played knight.
He's played e6.
He's played e6. I think he's trying to keep the queens on the board as much as possible. If you do go pawn takes c5 now, black can chop off the queen on d1, and now bishop takes c5 would mean that the f2 pawn is under attack.
Yeah.
And at least you get into a better version of the endgame. So Arjun trying to keep the queens on the board. Of course, Firuzja is prepared. He develops the bishop out to e2, and the game is on.
Agreed. And I think your move knight c6, clearly Arjun understood, that will exchange the queens and lead the game towards simplifications, which he doesn't want to have right now. So right now, Arjun thinking what to do. Maybe now taking on d4, because I do want to take on d4, but I also see knight c3 as a move on the next move for white. So how can black develop? If I play bishop e7, then this, is wasting a tempo. He does play knight c6.
Okay, I think that's a very logical move. I think white is going to go short castle, black is going to develop his bishop, and we have, I think, a simple Alapin opening where both of them should be very well prepared. Let's take a quick look at Gukesh versus Hans, because I think we have a decision. At least we know what the world champion is okay with. I think he's going for the 4-knight Scotch, and this is generally the opening we go for when we want to have a solid game, when we are okay with, having a quick game relatively. So I think this makes sense from the world champion's perspective. It is a surprise for Hans as well. Hans goes for bishop b4, and I think this is where he will chop off the knight on c6, play bishop d3. This is what we play, when we want to have a solid game with the white pieces. And I think we could see a very quick draw here.
Agreed. And this is very theoretical as well. I've seen so many draws, like 20 moves of theory and the players just shake hands. And also, I think it reminds me of, let's say, imagine a physical sport, right? Somebody is going through an injury. They don't start, running at full speed after recovering from that. They slowly take it, one step at a time. Same for Gukesh. A draw would not be a bad result at all. Bishop d3. He's playing castle very soon. Black will, of course, castle, play d5, and a very, very simple position, which I think might not be easy for Hans to, for example, push for a win here.
Exactly. But of course, I think if Hans does try to, for example, he doesn't play d5. You can also play short castle in rook e8 if you want to have a game here. But then you are in a territory which could be dangerous for black as well. So Hans has to make a decision here. Is he okay with playing the normal solid variation and go into, let's say an equalish end game, or does he want to have a game on the board? And if he chooses the latter, I think Gukesh could actually, have very good chances here as well.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do as Hans Niemann is underestimate Gukesh, and imagine Gukesh wins this spectacular style. That's going to give him so much confidence. So you don't want to revive the beast, so to speak. So let's see how this turns out. Meanwhile, jumping to the game, a very very important game of Andrekin versus Nodirbek as well, because Nodirbek still in the hunt. Yeah, half a point behind the leaders, and we have a semi-Slav on the board already. Some dynamic play. I think Nodirbek is praying to see Bishop G5 here, Sahaj.
Actually, I think he has played a move. Oh, he has not played a move. I think G3 very logical. Bishop G5, like you said, he's praying for it because Bishop G5 means you're going to be in two different territories. One is you could play Moscow with H6 G5, and other is you could go D takes C4, and both of them are extremely sharp variations. To play, and a result here is very very likely. Exactly,
I would love to see this.
Bishop E7, Knight D7, and there's 20 move theory here where the better prepared player could have better chances. But Andrekin is thinking he could also go for E3, which is, let's say, a more solid approach here, which we call the Meran. He could also play G3, going for the Catalan approach. I think E3 would probably make the most sense to me, considering that it is Nodirbek who has to win in order to win this tournament. I think E3 would be the most solid approach, but that could also be very predictable, from Andrekin.
I mean, let's go into Andrekin's mind, right? He's had all draws so far. No wins, no losses. Do you want to finish off in the same style, being the stable player in the event? Or do you want to finish off in style here? Because I feel like if you really want to finish off with a bang, you might go Bishop G5. But you're happy with what you've done so far, you might just play E3 and play a solid game.
Exactly. I think that's what we call the Meran. E3, Queen C2, Bishop E2, castle, and we have a very solid structure there. But I think that is what Nodirbek has prepared on the day. So we can see Andrekin is thinking in this position. Even pawn takes D5 is a very good choice there if you want to have a safe game here, because it is Nodirbek who has to push.
Agreed. So very interesting position. Nodirbek not even sitting at his seat right now. So now jumping to the final game and completing a roundup is Nihal versus Pranesh. Knight F3 by Nihal Sareen. D5, G3 not taking the center instantly. And now he plays pawn to D4, Knight F6, castles, and C takes D4 on the board. I think Pranesh already 50% score, having a decent event. I think a draw would totally be fine for him here.
Absolutely, but I think Nihal will definitely try to push. He's also on half score after defeating Arjun yesterday. And now Knight takes D4, E5 is very, very interesting. And I see your reaction, Sahil, and I think we should definitely jump to that game because Arjun has done something interesting. I know the bar says that it is dubious, but considering the match situation, this is what was expected from Arjun, to find that weird idea that no one has ever played before. It might be slightly dubious on paper, but it is another story to prove it on the board.
Sahaj, I love this idea. Can we have the camera full screen of Firouzja versus Arjun? Because there seems to be something dramatic happening, and I want to go to the live position here. This is where, CD4 is the most commonly played move. We have, I think, around 150, 200 games. And the move he played, Sahaj, Knight to G4 out of almost 200 games has been played only in 13 games. And Black seems to have a fantastic record in those 13 games. So maybe, the move looks rather absurd, but has certain ideas, and it's not easy for White to handle the change in structure, the change in plans.
And why you say that, Sahil, is because let's assume that I didn't play Knight G4. Let's say I would have gone for short castle instead. White could have chopped off that pawn on C5 and went straight into the endgame. Yeah. With the Knight on G4, you are saying that if you go pawn takes pawn now, I can now take your bishop on E3 and take that pawn on C5 as well. And then I would go to a much more favorable version of the endgame for me. So Arjun is saying no endgame. I want to keep the queens on the board because I want to have a game.
You know what? This game is going to be very exciting. I love this. And, I want to point out the best move here is to save that bishop. Because if you let go of this bishop, right, I think Arjun has gotten what he wanted. An imbalance, a clear imbalance. You cannot move the bishop anywhere else. Bishop d2, bishop c1 doesn't make sense. Bishop g5 would, and h would hang it. So bishop f4 seems to be the automatic move. And then Sahaj, how do you see the game moving forward?
I think bishop f4. I'm looking at there is a possibility of h5 here.
What?
One player has played h5 here in the past, and it's not. I mean, knowing Arjun, h5 could be very much what he goes for today, because he has to go for the win, right? He has to go. He has to try and do something dubious.
Do I dare, Sahaj? Do I dare?
I will
Even
just-
attack this knight?
g5. Let's go. Can I play g5?
Best move in the position. Wow.
And what do you have to do now? Bishop goes back to
Bishop c1.
c1. No way.
I mean, I think you can play d2 as well. I wouldn't play e3 though, because again, you take.
Yeah, and then I can take and push g4 as well, and then the attack is
Look at
on.
this. Best move, bishop d7. Oh no, my knight.
And if you take the knight on g4, pawn takes, and that h file opens up, you could even go long castle and put pressure on the long side
Wow.
there. That could be extremely dangerous for Alireza here, and you can see that it's been 8 moves and Alireza already in deep thought.
Yeah, if Nodirbek looks at this move, he's going to start preparing for the tiebreak as well, because it feels like Arjun has come up with an interesting idea here. And if not f4, what else? Because I do see a couple of other moves played. One is c4, attacking the queen, but that, as you can see, already is a minor mistake from white. Another one is knight d2, but again, that just feels like black got what he wanted.
Exactly, because you could chop off the knight on e3 at some point. First, I think you would go pawn takes d4. And if you go pawn takes d4, now knight e3 would be something that I would consider. Not immediately, but it's something that I can take at any moment in my...
The bishop is now trapped. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Yeah.
Exactly. I can go castle, I can play b6, bishop b7 or bishop d7, and at some point I'm going to take on e3, and that will introduce an imbalance in the game. And well, it's not an endgame. This was Alapin. Arjun was not prepared for this, I think, but he still managed to find one of those dubious ideas that no one has ever played before, and the game is on.
And look at Firuz Jahaya. I mean, he must be like, okay, very solid choice, Alapin, no stress whatsoever. But suddenly he's, woken up now completely, because he understands, Arjun has played like a interesting idea, knight to g4, the bishop is attacked, bishop f4 is what we're expecting, and Sahaj now h5 is something, we saw, but in majority of games, I think black has castled here, and after this, I think multiple moves possible, let's say castles, let's say white just attacks the knight with pawn to h3, knight drops back, so what changed in the position, this knight g4, h3, like who did it help more?
I mean, we are assuming that Arjun is going to castle. I really don't think he intends to castle in this position. But I think just to answer your question, what changed is that now pawn takes c5 is not as dangerous, because I could go queen takes d1, I could go bishop takes c5, and now that bishop on e3, which was eyeing the c5 square, is no longer there anymore. So even if you do go into the endgame, it would be a more favorable version of the endgame for Arjun there. You can already see the bar is completely even, maybe slightly preferred for black there. And you could see why, because black has castled, the queen is active, the knights are active. Black is one step away from, connecting his rooks as well. I think this looks like a very, very good decision from Arjun. And look at him. I mean, he's swiveling in his chair like he did, this entirety of the event. I think he looks pretty confident.
Agreed. And also, I think there's an imbalance already that if you do take on c5, it's 4 versus 2, right? 4 versus 3 here, and it's 3 versus 2 here. So at least the pawn structure is not symmetrical, because that would really increase the drawing chances. So always chances of both sides to create complications here. The game is on, Sahaj. For first place at the Chennai Grand Masters. And the other game which really matters is Andrekin versus look at this, he did play bishop g5 actually.
Oh wow, he went for the most aggressive.
And dc4 played.
That is, I think it's called the Vienna, if I'm not mistaken. It has I know h6 and d takes c4. Botvinnik, sorry, my bad. D takes c4 is Botvinnik. I think h6 dc4 is Moscow, and d takes c4 is Botvinnik there. And a4 is a very solid variation inside d takes c4. It prevents the b5 push. So now Andrekin just wants to play e3 and take the pawn on c4. Now, what normally happens in this structure is that black is going to play c5 at some point, take on d4. White is most likely going to capture back with the e pawn, and we're going to have an IQP, an isolated queen's pawn, where the pawn on a4 is a slight concession to black. I know this because I have done this exact same thing with white. And I went into a unfavorable IQP position where I actually lost the game, and I have some bad memories there. So this A4 is a good move. It's a solid move, but at the same time, if you go into an IQP with the pawn on A4, it's a slight concession to black.
In fact, I think, the idea is to prevent B5, but in practicality, black can anyways play B5 here. And if you do take, I think takes knight B5, queen B6, and black does gain a lot of counterplay. I remember seeing this actually in some course somewhere in this line. So very interesting.
Possible. It's definitely possible, but I think unlikely from Nodirbek because this involves exchanging so many pawns in the position, and he wants to keep pieces on the board. He wants to keep pawns on the board because he wants to complicate the position. Nodirbek knows that if he wins this match, he could technically win the championship. So, or at least he would be in the contention for a tiebreak, so he has to play for a win. So I'm guessing something like bishop b4, bishop b7. I'm not really sure what's the best move in this position. I would guess is bishop b4 good?
Yes, it's the best move in the position. Very, very logical, pinning that knight, putting pressure on this, e4 break that white would love to play. So interesting position. Nodirbek has the pressure on his shoulders. He needs to win this because if he draws, at least one out of Firuzja and Arjun will make it to 4.5. So Nodirbek will not be part of that tiebreak if it does happen indeed. So yeah, now jumping to the world champions game, Gukesh against Hans. We left it around bishop d3, then black castle, both sides castle, d5, takes, h3, preventing any piece coming to g4, h6, and now queen to f3 and c6. Very, very solid setup.
Absolutely. And now with the idea of bishop f4, knight e2, you tried to play this super safe, I think. But usually you go bishop f4, black plays bishop d6, and you trade off those bishops. And if we look at the scorecard of, this opening, you will see 90% draws, essentially, which makes sense from the world champions perspective. Because as you said, after the last two losses back to back, it's very important to cut the bleeding and, to try and recuperate. In this sense. So I think the decision makes a lot of sense. Plus, you're also throwing the ball to Hans. If you want to play for a win, you better have a, some dubious position or some kind of an interesting idea that might, create some chances. But for now, the position looks extremely solid.
Agreed. I think a great opening choice though, keeping, a draw in hand at all times, not risking too much. Because also I think the time pressure has been kind of a problem for Gukesh, right? With more time on the clock. Imagine there was extra time coming in at 40 moves. Gukesh might have gotten 2 wins instead of 2 losses. So I think if he can play something, he understands well, lots of theory, he can avoid that problem today and get a simple draw or maybe even get a chance to push. So Hans even has a choice to make. Let's see if he creates some chances. Meanwhile, jumping back to the game of Firuzja versus Arjun, knight g4, and Firuzja, the tournament leader, is still thinking, can he go full screen? Because it seems like he's going very deep into the calculations. He's laying down on the table there, calculating very carefully.
100%. And we were considering the fact that he's going to go short castle after bishop f4. I don't see that happening. I think Arjun, after bishop f4, he's going to throw h5 in this position and the game is going to be on. Because we saw those ideas with g5, hitting the bishop on f4, where Alireza is forced to play bishop c1 or maybe bishop d2. Both of them would create a very chaotic position on the board. So even Alapin, is not safe these days.
Yeah, and look at Arjun. Yeah, I think we saw him, having breakfast today. We saw him having dinner yesterday. In his mind, he must be, concocting this idea now. Okay, how do I create complications? I want to play Sicilian, but there's Alapin. And I think whenever as white, you want to have a safe position against the Sicilian defense, you do choose the Alapin. So it was not that hard for Arjun to kind of predict what Firuzja might play.
Yeah, could be, but I think it's very hard to surprise, Arjun in the opening anyways. I think the only one who managed to surprise Arjun was Gukesh. That's the only game, I think, where Arjun got into a worse position straight out of the opening, but then he fought back like he does. But now the ball is in Alireza's court. Does he deflect with the bishop? Does he develop the knight? Does he play h3? What's the most solid way to play this position? Can I play c4 here? Let's actually do a bit of a deep dive. Is c4 a good move here?
I think that's a good question because you do attack the queen. Now I have knight c3, a very natural square for my knight as well. Now where do I put my queen? Like queen d8 is the first thought that comes to mind, but then d5. And suddenly, the black pieces are getting kicked back one by one. First the queen, now the knight. If you take, I don't really have a good square for the knight on c6 edge. I don't want to go to b8. Knight b4 will get trapped at some point. So instead of queen d8, apparently queen d6 is the best move here. And if you do play d5, now takes takes and knight e5. So the queen basically controls the e5 square and gives the knight an active square, and black is apparently fine here.
And also you've got complete dominance over the dark square. So if you go knight takes knight, black goes queen takes knight, you've got the imbalance of course, there is a different pawn structure, plus there is a bishop versus knight as well. And the e3 pawn also hangs. So this feels more pleasant for black, I think for sure, because you've got the double bishop advantage, you've got control over the dark squares as well. So any choice you make here is not safe, essentially.
Agreed. And often people ask why the queen is good centralized, right? Why is it so strong in the center? This is a great example. Attacking the central weak pawn, putting pressure on the king side on the h2 pawn, attacking the queen side pawn as well. You couldn't have a more active queen on a chessboard. So going back to the live position, Firuzja has the potential to go wrong, and that's the kind of position Arjun wanted. He's also built up a 15-minute healthy lead on the clock as well. So Firuzja has to be accurate. He's completely on his own. This has not been played at all. So there's potential to go wrong.
Exactly. And can I go bishop f4 and g5 straight away? Or is that too much?
Why not even g5? Because g4 is hanging?
It's a good point, but after knight g5, I was thinking some bishop g5, and okay, at least the g file is open. I mean, I can go
there's knight h2.
There is that as well. King h2 and just queen takes g5, and okay, you managed to achieve what you set out to achieve. The g file is open. You could castle on the long side, so we might see players castle on opposite sides of the board. He has sacrificed a pawn temporarily, and the g file is open. I know I've mentioned that, but that's a very, very important point in this position, and that could be the reason why this is so complicated.
Agreed. And if you do defend with bishop f3, there's always knight e5 to attack the bishop. Then the bishop comes in on c6, and it could be a strong attack for Arjun. At least there's potential to attack the white king. So going back, maybe g5 you mentioned, so not knight g5, but if I have to move my bishop again, then maybe, that dissuades Firuzja from putting the bishop on f4. He sees g5, he sees this knight h2 line. He's like, okay, I don't want to move the bishop twice. So maybe he doesn't even put it on f4 in the first place. And he sees
Arjun as well, because, Arjun has done f5, h5, in the past against Nodirbek as well. So this wouldn't be very different from that. Bishop c1. I mean, this is just not an easy move to play because you don't want to retreat your bishop back to its original square on the first, on like the 10th move, because you played bishop e3, you're going bishop f4, and then you're bringing the bishop back to c1. That doesn't make sense. At least you wouldn't play something like this if you have not looked at it, with an engine or with a computer before. It will be very difficult to make those practical decisions on the board. So I think because of this, bishop c1 seems extremely unlikely to me. However, I think something like knight d2...
Wait, what? Okay, I have to switch games quickly because something has happened. I'm assuming that's a transmission error, or if our engine is horribly wrong, because here after c6, bishop h6 was played.
What?
Can we go to the camera for Gukesh versus Hans? I feel like there might be some rep. Oh, he has taken on h6. Wait, what? Oh, what is this move? Crazy move, actually. Because it came out of nowhere. And I just had a look at the moves played in this position so far. We have roughly 150 games played, and bishop h6 was played in one game that black won. So what is bishop takes h6?
So I think firstly, wow. Secondly, I think he wants to go queen f4, queen h6, and there is a repetition there.
Okay, so if you take the bishop, it's actually a draw, yeah? Queen g3
Queen g3, king h8, queen f4, yeah? And then you go queen takes h6, and that's a repetition on the board.
Yeah, so that's not what
that's not a repetition. Gukesh can play this.
No, yeah, that's okay, I think. But maybe
that's like 100 IQ move from Gukesh, because I think Hans could take on h6 thinking that Gukesh wants to repeat, and then he will carry on. He will not go for the draw. He's telling him that he wants to play for a draw, but actually not.
But the problem is, Sahaj, black can actually take, you see the blue arrow. A bishop takes c3 first, and now apparently you're supposed to look at this line. And to kind of take us to this line, we have Rakesh by joining us. Rakesh, I mean, totally unexpected. I couldn't predict this in a million years.
Yeah, but smart opening choice by the world champion, and he is all set to make the draw here, because this is an opening which I also play.
Oh, wow.
You have played this against me, Rakesh bhai.
Exactly. So
In a classical game, Rakesh bhai has played this with the white
that
pieces.
didn't go in my favor, Sahaj, because I was trying to win.
But I don't think he's going for a draw here, Rakesh bhai, because if he goes pawn takes h6, queen g3 check, king h8, queen f4, and if you king h8 here, I think, and if queen f4, bishop takes c3, queen h6 check, king goes to g8. Now Gukesh has a draw with queen g5, queen h6, and this is what Hans could think is his plan. But you can just say b takes c3. That's fine. You could still play on in this position. So he's maybe giving the idea that he wants to play for a draw, but this is anything but draw. That's, I think, a very smart move by the world champion.
If we reach this variation, yes. But my question is objectively, Rakesh, as you have played this, is bishop h6 a mistake or not? Because
It is.
all the games so far being played, this has never been seen before, with a positive result. So the best move, bishop c3, white is now supposed to take on g7.
Yeah, that's the only move. And in fact, another variation, if you just go a couple of moves back before h3, so a known draw is queen f3, c6, bishop g5,
Queen f3, c6,
bishop g5, and something like
bishop d6, yeah.
yeah, bishop d6, rook a e1, and now h6, and you chop on h6. That's a well-known draw here.
Maybe not exactly here, but yeah.
I think it's maybe like one move before you go bishop takes h6 or something. Before you go, I think instead of bishop d6, if you play h6 here,
Yeah.
that's where the draw, I think, happens. And now bishop h6 can work. It's actually
Maybe Gukesh mixed up.
It's possible. It's possible.
No. I think this is 100% planned. 100% planned. Because if you go bishop takes c3, so let's actually do a bit of a deep dive here.
First of all, if we take the bishop, then black takes here.
No, but then you don't get a tempo with queen
We are
f4,
here
right?
actually. So let's say bishop takes c3.
But you don't get a tempo if you take bc3. So let's go bishop takes g7.
G7.
King takes g7. I think it's the most obvious.
Queen
And
g3
now queen check.
King here.
Queen check again.
Queen check.
King g7.
This is a draw.
Queen g5 check.
Okay, this is a draw.
No, this is not a draw. Queen g5 check. King h8. Queen h6 check. No.
You
Queen
want to give
h6.
another check, yeah?
Yeah. And king g8 and now bc3. Now, I mean, there is a draw on the board, which is in my hands, but I don't have to do it. I can play rook e1, rook e3, rook g3. But you are still thinking that I want to draw this because that's what we all thought. That's why he's going for the 4 knights. I think this is 100 IQ. No, 100 million IQ.
100 IQ is not that great, actually.
1 million IQ move. I'm sorry. I'm really shocked by this because I think this is such like great preparation from the world champion. Very refreshing to see this.
So now I understand if we go to the main variation, bishop c3, bishop g7, and there is this insane move for black which somehow works, and that's rook e8. Now, I don't think Hans even plays this, but objectively, has Gukesh taken on risk or not is my question, Rakesh.
I think he's just going for the draw.
No, bishop h6.
Bishop h6.
I am telling you, this is anything but a draw. Rook e1. How is this a draw? You've sacrificed a piece.
Now,
Rook takes e5. Next move.
Queen d6 apparently.
And okay, now I think it depends on what his preparation is in this position. But I'm sure he has looked at this before. I genuinely believe this is preparation.
No,
And
this
it's
is
great preparation, I think.
It is preparation to make a draw.
Yes, exactly.
No, 100% not. There must be something here. First of all, finding moves like rook e8 and bishop e5 is not easy.
No, agreed,
Over the
I
board.
think.
Like, for example, after bishop h6, right? You have to first think about the fact that Hans says right now, so anytime you play e4, e5 as black and your opponent goes for 4 knights, you think your opponent wants to make a draw. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Right? So, going into this variation, Hans is thinking, okay, maybe Gukesh is not having the best tournament. He's going for 4 knights. Maybe he wants to make a draw. Now, after bishop takes h6, the first thought process of Hans will be, if I take on h6, there is that repetition I see with queen h6, queen g5. So that's a trap that Gukesh has laid out for him. He's not going to take the draw here.
Possible, Saj, and it must be like 220 IQ and, speaking of,
More. This is beautiful
speaking
stuff.
of the 100 IQ, it made our first row chuckle. And shout out to our smart folks from Quantbox who are here. So nice to have you here. And they must be rooting for their boy Arjun, guys.
I think this is an interesting position. And maybe practically it just works for Gukesh. Either way. But I'm still curious how Hans reacts, because does he kind of take the draw or goes for the draw? At least Gukesh takes on, or is a separate question, or does he try to find out what's wrong? Because objectively, he must have seen these positions before, and he would know maybe this is not the best way to play, but he might know it's a draw. Like, it's not the way white plays for advantage that he knows for sure.
True, and a draw kind of ends a disastrous tournament for both of them. Both of
Guys.
them winless so far. But I know Sahaj's statement has some merit.
There is no chance to draw. He's basically trying to
Bait him.
confuse all of us. He's trying to bait him. I'm telling you, he's not going for a draw here. Anything but a draw. If this was Arjun playing Bishop h6, we would say that this is a monster preparation.
True.
This is world champion preparation right there.
That's true. What,
I mean, we have looked at this position maybe 1,000 times in our lives, with both colors. Have we ever thought about Bishop h6 in this position? Never.
But Sahaj, 12th move, you don't think the world champion blunders, and this must be prep.
Of course, this is prepped. And if Bishop c3, why I think this is difficult, I think this is a huge risk as well, because after Bishop c3, Bishop takes, well, first of all, Bishop c3 itself is a very difficult move because you have Queen g3 as well and you have Bishop g7 as well. And after Bishop g7, how on earth do you play Rook e8? That's so hard.
No, that's tough. I think agreed. I think Rook e8 is very tough. You only play this if you know this idea, right?
Right.
So practically, Gukesh's idea might be a great one, but objectively, there's an opportunity for hands, right? There is an opportunity, but it's very tough. Rook e8 is, I've never seen Rook e8 as a reaction to Bishop takes g7, right? It's never happened before. It reminds me of yesterday's game where Arjun played, d6-4, e5.
Correct.
Very similar, like a new reaction to Bishop takes g7. Now, hand's about to play, by the way. He's taking the bishop.
He's taking the bait.
Wow.
This is not going to be... Now you're going to see that this is not a draw. Queen g3 check, I think he's going to play. And the gambit worked for the world champion. I think he's going to go Queen g3 check now.
I think there's one more move for black.
No, he plays
He plays
g8.
king h8.
Let's go full screen,
He plays king h8. Wow.
And now Queen h4. And he's telling him that he wants to take a draw, but he's not going to take a draw. I think he's going to go Rook e1 there. Because I see there is an advantage here for white.
Oh, wow. Apparently,
Queen f4.
the move for black was knight g4. That's what he should have played and would give black
Queen
equality.
f4 played, Sahil.
Yeah, this is the life
Hitting
position.
the bishop, hitting the pawn.
This is some incredible prep from the... I mean, wow. I mean, after having
Bishop
two
C-
losses, going into this is so impressive. Hans is thinking this is still a draw. I don't think he's going to take the draw, but I think we're going to find out in just a second. Whether he plays Queen g5 check or not is the question, right? If he goes b takes c3, we know it's not a draw, right?
I think he takes the draw.
I think he takes the draw is my
Stops
guess.
the bleeding, Sahaj. You were advising that.
Because I feel like it's not about the game. There might be an opportunity. The confidence is lacking, Sahaj, to kind of pull through. It's not about the game.
I doubt it.
I mean,
I
he
doubt
could-
it. I think he plays b takes c3 and he carries on with the position. I don't think he takes a draw, but okay, we'll see.
I feel like he couldn't convert a +1, +4 position, right? That takes a toll on you. It's more psychological. And even for hands, I think this is more of a surprise. I don't know how hands... He didn't handle it in the best way possible.
Then
yeah?
why is he thinking now?
Exactly. Why is Gukesh thinking?
Why is it, if this is preparation and if he wanted to take a draw, why is he thinking now?
I am not sure, but I still feel he most likely will take the draw. Because for Gukesh, getting that, points on the scoreboard and also kind of
B takes c3. I think Gukesh goes for the win. Let's go.
Come on, Guki.
I love to see. This is so refreshing. Because after b takes c3, you go knight e4. I think that's the only move in the position. You
Yes.
take, and you go rook e1, rook e3, rook g3. I can just pre-move that.
Let's say rook a1, bishop f5.
Rook e3,
Rook e3, bishop g6.
rook g3, and h4, h5. You're losing the
that's
bishop.
a mistake
No?
already.
Gukesh goes for the check.
Okay, check.
Okay.
But rook e8 is the move, yeah? Rook g3
Rook
check.
g3 check, bishop g6, h4, no?
But okay, directly bishop this. Okay, let's go to live position right
He's
now.
repeating once. Is he taking the draw?
He's going to take the draw, Sahaj. It's not about the valuation.
No ways.
It's there it is. He takes the draw. It's not about, I think, objectively, he had the position he should have pushed. I agree with you. I think Hans didn't react in the best way possible, but the confidence also matters, I think. And Gukesh takes the draw, gets a very quick result in. He does prevent himself from falling below 2700, but at the end, the memories might not be as positive looking back at the Chennai Grandmasters.
Absolutely.
Wow,
And
but what a tactic that was. I mean, I really wish, rook e1, rook e3, rook g3. It could have carried on, I think, in the game as well, but I'm guessing you're right. Yeah, because of the tournament situation, not being in the right frame of mind, I think he wanted to end the game as quickly as possible. But wow, bishop h6 was such a cool surprise.
And
for
just
me.
to go back here, I think I do agree. There was a lot of potential here.
100%.
Rook e3, I thought bishop g6 would be the move, but that's already a big mistake after h4.
Exactly.
So
White
you
can
have to play rook e8 first, check, and now play bishop
And now
g6.
h4?
And if, okay, h4, f4, the rook e6, like it's
H5,
tricky.
You're
It's tricky.
winning the piece back.
Yeah, there's Queen H4. Like Black has to find a bunch of tough moves.
Wow.
I think reaching this position, he should have played on in objectivity.
But I mean, Queen G5, Rook G5, you are a pawn up in a rook ending. You have no chance to lose here.
He had no chance losing the last 2 games as well. So I think he just wanted
Rook
to
ending is different, no?
end the tournament.
Yeah,
on a
no, I
high.
understand. I understand.
So-
From a psychological perspective, maybe it made sense. But wow, what a move that was, Bishop H6. So refreshing.
But another thing that has happened after this tournament, that Gukesh has ended a tournament winless. 0 wins for the world champion. I don't remember last time that happened.
And also, I think Gukesh, now on 2 points, right, will finish at least guaranteed last place and also 1 point below the guy who's ranked second last for sure, because everybody's already on 3 points.
Yeah.
So not a great tournament from the eyes of the world champion. He will have to, gather his courage, prepare again, maybe take a break. I don't know what the solution is, but he will need to come back all guns blazing for the Olympiad.
For sure, he has a good 1 month and a week extra. Let's see how that comes back. But
By the
let's
way-
go to the Arjun board, Sahil.
Yeah, there's a mistake already. This is where we left it last. Knight G4. Bishop F4, best move by Firuzja. But now Arjun castles and Knight A3 was not the best move. It's a decent idea, of course. It's a common theme in these structures as well. Knight B8 can be a plan, Knight B5, sorry, with Knight C7 incoming. But now Arjun can just take on D4 and he gains some resemblance of equality maybe.
And the idea is pawn takes pawn. You don't recapture, but you in fact go Knight B5.
Ooh, Knight B5 is already a mistake here. Wow.
Why
D,
did it?
D takes C3.
Because Knight C7, there is
Yeah,
Queen
Queen
takes
takes
D1.
D1,
You have a
intermediate
tempo.
move. That's changed, right? Because both sides have castled. I think there's no Knight C7 check anymore, right? That's a difference there. So Knight B5 not as strong anymore. So let's see how Arjun tackles this. He has a chance to give white an isolated pawn, and that's another imbalance in the position.
Good 20-minute time advantage as well.
And there it is. He plays at Sahaj on the board. C takes D4. Now, which piece do you take with? Because you want to take with the pawn generally, but you've already played Knight A3, so there's no Knight C3 anymore. And also, if you take with the pawn, it's a target for black and more imbalances. So I don't know how Felicia captures back.
Also, that bishop takes knight ahead.
Yeah, Bishop takes knight looks like a very strong move in the position because firstly, there is an imbalance. Secondly, the pawn structure will be doubled there.
Yeah.
So is he supposed to capture back with the pawn or the knight? I think the knight maybe makes more sense.
Yeah, you can also attack this knight on G4 with this move, so has a double purpose. Also, Bishop F3 could be a nice move to
Yes.
play for white as well, with both the bishops kind of dominating the queen side
Knight
for
takes
black.
played.
Oh, wow, played on the board.
Okay, so that was the best move in the position. And now Bishop takes A3, B takes A3 kind of creates an imbalance in the game. And then basically the game is on. It's, I think, the best you could have gotten with an Alapin.
Yep.
Considering that you have to play for a win here.
Agreed. And now the crucial moment in the game. Does Arjun take on A3? Because it's a committal decision. You are giving up the bishop pair. You have some weak dark squares white can utilize, but you have a lot of targets in the endgame to attack. The pawn will come to A3, for example. Another pawn on C3. I mean, the kind of imbalance you are looking for when you're going for the win.
Yeah, 100%. I don't like white's position one bit here. Pawns are doubled. Lots of pawn islands. They're not supporting each other. And I think Arjun would be very happy. And I think he has won the opening battle style.
Agreed. He has. He's gotten the kind of position Firuzja did not want. It doesn't mean he's going to falter. Firuzja has played amazing chess so far. And Sahaj, I think the time difference will also benefit Arjun. So Firuzja completely on his own in a structure which he's not used to playing from this opening. So it could be interesting to see how Arjun and Firuzja handle this.
Absolutely. I'm still thinking about that Bishop takes H6. What a beautiful line it was. But wow. But yeah, coming back, Bishop takes A3, I think is what we are expecting. Can we say that Arjun is out of preparation here?
I think so,
Yeah.
yes. I think so, yes. Maybe he understands the structure because Bishop 4 he must have seen, castles he must have seen, but Knight A3 maybe is not something he looked at in depth. So he did play CD4 very quickly. So maybe he has an idea that taking on A3 is a theme, but I don't think he's gone way deep into these variations. This is already quite an innovative new idea, right? You don't go that deep into these lines. So that means Gukesh has drawn. That means he likely might be even headed home, Rakesh. Yeah, well, the tournament is over for the world champion.
Yeah, and luckily, no long flight home. He just lives about 5 kilometers away. So that's going to be a tournament to forget for the world champion.
Yeah. And by the way, Sahaj, we are talking about a potential tiebreak jumping to the Andrekin versus Nodirbek game. Bishop B4 was played. e4 taking the center, takes, queen a5, attacking the c3 pawn, attacking the e4 pawn, e5 attacking the knight. Of course, now knight e4 played, rook c1. I mean, what do you make of this position? Like, it feels like maybe Andrekin for the first time will get a result.
Either ways, I think, because you've got the imbalance of a bishop versus knight. Black does have an extra pawn as well. So I think the position looks very, very complicated. And I think we will definitely see a result in this game. And it could go in Nodirbek's favor as well, because looks like, he has pushed b5. He is defending the pawn on c4. He's deliberately going into these, complications because he has to win this match. But okay, he goes into those complications anyways, I feel.
Yeah, and now the best move seems to be queen c2, knight g5, and do not castle into the good knight, Rakesh, because it's going to be checkmate in one move. So there seems to be that brewing up, but overall it's going to be amazing. And let's see how the game goes. Whether Nodirbek can create winning chances or not.
And also after knight g5, that knight is going to come in the center, and knight d6 is such a nice square. I'm worried if I was Nodirbek.
Agreed. And Reckon has not really shown signs of weakness. He's kind of fought very well. Remember that game against Arjun?
Yeah.
When he was struggling, found that crazy, drawing lines. So he's kind of always, ready to find those tricky lines and resources that kind of hold the game. So will not make it easy for Nodirbek, who's also, by the way, 16 minutes behind on the clock. So a healthy lead there. Now jumping back to the game of a star game here, Firuzja versus Arjun, knight d4. Arjun Erigasi is still, I think, not at the board. Oh, he's there. He's thinking.
By the way, I think we should also take a look at Nihal versus Pranesh, because looks like Pranesh has won the opening battle again today. So I think we saw until this point, knight c3 was played. He goes for d4. I remember seeing a game of Nihal from last year's Chennai. Maybe I'm mistaken on this, but queen d3, bishop h3 was played, and he plays rook d1. And now the best move, queen d7. Aiming to push the golden pawn.
F5, let's go. Sahaj Grover approved.
This time, yes, for sure.
This reminds me of that game that Nodirbek played versus Nihal. Very similar F5 break. Maybe Pranesh purposefully chose this structure as well. Yeah, potentially. That, maybe this structure is something Nihal has issues with, understanding. And now looks like Black is the one playing with the white pieces, has the center in control. And it's not easy for Nihal to play C5, F5, every pawn moving forward.
Absolutely. And Nihal arrived a few minutes late as usual. That has been his norm in this tournament. But overall, I feel Pranesh has won the opening battle, and definitely Nihal Sareen has to, come up with the goods. And nice to see both these players exactly on 50%. But I think one of them wins this. Saj, what do you think?
I think good chances for anyone to win this match. I think Pranesh has maybe a slightly upper hand at the moment because of this F5, C5, E4 business, and he could completely seize the center there. Looks like White doesn't have, he's still struggling to develop his bishop on C1, because where are you supposed to put that bishop? And the pawn on B2 also, is up for grabs. So could be a bit difficult, I think, for White to play on in this position. And you can see from the body language of Nihal, he is thinking very hard here, because the clear plan is not, there are no simple plans in this position.
Agreed. Without the knights, the game is, of course, a bit simple. But, of course, Black has a clear plan of gaining space in the center. Let's see how Nihal Sareen handles this. He is thinking he's way behind on the clock. That's not something you see often as well. Jumping back to the Nodirbek game, we have a move. So Queen C2 was played very quickly by Andrekin. Now comes knight takes G5, takes. And now apparently Black should try to trade queens with queen takes A4. But, oh my God, look at that pawn structure. Might as well play A6 and complete the square, yeah?
I think he might go for bishop A6 though, so close enough, but I think he won't get the opportunity to do that, because bishop takes C4 just completely simplifies the position. And I might even say that maybe White is a bit more comfortable in this position. And if it is Nodirbek who has to win, then this is all up to Nodirbek versus Arjun, Alireza versus Arjun, because I feel like that's the match that's going to decide the winner of this tournament, because here it's very hard for Nodirbek to play for a win.
I don't see him winning, Rakesh. I see zero chances, because if queen takes A4, White does take on A4, I just don't see any chances. The structure is so broken that I would say White has great chances, in fact, of winning this.
Yeah, if it was anyone who wins, it's actually White, not Black.
Exactly. Because knight e4, as you pointed out, knight c5. Yeah, Nodirbek, I don't think he would be happy with this development for sure, because now takes, Your pawn structure is completely bad. Bishop takes e4. The pawn on a4 will fall at some point, and then knight e4, knight c5, or knight d6 just looks too tempting.
Oof. I mean, I have so many squares I can jump to, yeah. And then I would even just put the king in the center. So very nice position, comfortable position. Maybe playing for 2 results and raking. So he's likely not going to suffer a single loss in this event. So great.
Actually, 1 second. If I play knight d7 after takes bishop c4, can I play knight d7?
Okay, let's say bishop c4, knight d7.
But now maybe there's a third result possible. Knight b6.
Knight b6. I want to put the bishop somewhere.
Yeah, I see the bar really doesn't like this move. Oh, you're going to go bishop d3, not
yeah,
bishop
because
a3,
I didn't want bishop a6 and preventing castling. That was the logic.
Okay, that makes sense. If I play a5, then you go knight c5 also to prevent that bishop jumping to a6.
And then I want to play maybe even king e2 and then just kind of pile on this a pawn somehow. At least that makes a lot of sense to me, but I don't know.
So no knight b6 then. Let's go back one move. Maybe there must be something else. Because I see that I have the idea of knight b6. Anytime you play rook a1, I can play knight b6. And now I'm trying to think if there is a way for Nodirbek to continue the game, because he does have an extra pawn. Even though it's a double pawn, it's an isolated pawn. I mean, still, you have
c5
some
somehow?
chances. C5 just simplifies, not too quickly.
Or maybe Sahaj, inverting your move order and playing a5 first, so there's no knight c5.
Oh, yes. I like that. So a5.
No,
knight
d7.
d7.
Knight d7.
And then a5
Knight
first.
d7, knight d4, a5. Let's say I push the king somewhere. Is it e2 or d2? Now the knight is on, let's say e2.
I'll play king e7 as well.
King e7.
Just trying to keep pieces on the board. And if you go rook a1, I have knight b6. Actually, I can allow rook a4 as well, because then I can play knight b6.
Oh, that's nice.
You'll do
No,
now?
not now. Like, because rook takes a4 is not really a threat. I can play knight b6 then.
So what do you play?
That's a good question. I will play...
Because I want to play rook b1 actually, preventing knight b6. Next.
Can I play c5?
c5, let's say rook h b1 anyways. Take, I guess.
Oh yeah, this might be a bit difficult to play for a win.
Yeah, it's tough to play for a win. I think black can equalize, but to play for a win would take something insane, yeah? Because this pawn will also be weak once a4 falls.
True.
So maybe bishop... Oh, you can't play bishop b7, so bishop a6 is the only move, yeah?
Bishop a6 takes, and then rook takes a4, and maybe rook b7 as well is also kind of interesting here.
Yeah, true.
But he does have the outside pawn. You could play knight b6, knight d5, but you just need your pieces on right squares. Like maybe the rook on c7, knight on d5, and then Nodirbek could say, okay, I have some chances to play for a win. Then he could utilize the outside pass pawn in this position, but with the pieces on d7 and rook on h8 still at its original square, I think this is a bit tough, yeah.
So very likely, I think a draw could be a result in this game. And that is, that might just, reduce Nodirbek's chances to 0 of winning the event. So as you mentioned, Firouzja versus Arjun becomes extremely crucial, and he has taken that knight after a deep thought.
Yep, the master of imbalances, and it has been created. Now b takes a3 or bishop takes g4. There is bishop takes b2, so we can ignore that. That's just a free pawn. So b takes a3 is pretty much forced, I'm guessing.
And now do I save the knight?
Is he thinking about bishop f3 maybe? That's the only other logical move, attacking the queen. You put your queen somewhere, and then I go b takes a3, I guess.
Where? Because queen c4 now looks tempting, right? Because if you take, I take.
So knight c6, bc6. But then the f4 bishop hangs. Sorry, my bad. So b takes a3, I guess.
Can I take this or no?
I don't think you should.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm not going to look at the...
Knight c6 and bishop g4 is hanging, no? So you have to think about the knight on
knight
g4.
Is hanging. Yeah,
so maybe knight f6 or something. Or
knight e5 looks very nice,
Knight e5, yes. Because if I take on c6 now, you could recapture with the knight, and you don't have to hurt your pawn structure.
Yep. So going back, I think maybe bishop f3 is a nice idea, but queen c4 is a good retort as well. So Firouzja likely should just take on a3. Yeah, that seems to be the best move here.
I mean, if we looked at bishop f3, we just looked at bishop f3. That introduces another trade in the position, and I think Firouzja, if he wants to play solid, he could do either. I think he took on a3. Yeah,
yes, he took on a3.
Now the knight on g4 is under attack, so knight f6, knight e5. Is knight e5 possible?
Knight e5 also looks possible, but it also blocks the e-pawn, which is something I don't like. But it's possible.
Yeah, that's true. But I can just develop the bishop via d7, connect my rooks. If you take on c6, knight b5 is nice.
Knight c7.
Also, Saj, I have a question. Like, instead of knight b5, what if I chop the knight on c6 You have to take back with your
Oh,
knight.
yeah, you're
and
right.
now I want the opposite colored bishop. No, bishop f3 in fact.
You want to play
You
this?
just
okay.
want to go straight into
Trade
the...
everything,
Yeah.
secure my title of the Quantbox Chennai GM.
Yeah, this is very
He just
tough.
has to
for
look
that
at the game of Nodirbek and be like, okay, let's go into opposite colored bishop and the game is over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
this is very tough. So going back, Arjun, if he wants to maintain winning chances, he needs to come up with a different move. And apparently the best move in this position, actually this move e5, which is quite interesting. I like this move because it defends the bishop. Okay, not defends, but at least opens the bishop towards the knight on g4. And now if you take this knight, I take with the queen, I also avoid the queen trade. So I maintain more pieces on the board, and these are still weaknesses, although white has the bishop pair.
And it also avoids the notorious opposite colored bishops, which are known for making draws. So I think Arjun might go for e5, Saj. Your thoughts?
Possible, yes, but knight c6, even bishop takes g4 looks kind of equalish to me. I mean, if Alireza wants to draw, I mean, it is not really a difficult task here.
That's a good point, actually.
And now queen g4
I was
just...
thinking EF4 just.
Queen f4.
No, not taking on G4.
Okay.
That's, I think, quite nice, but then bishop... Oh, actually, bishop c8, rook c8, you might lose the pawn on c3.
Yeah.
So can I play bishop f3 instead?
Queen
Queen
c3?
c3 and okay, queen f4 perhaps. Because I do have some control over the b7 pawn. I'm stopping your bishop from developing.
Yeah.
And also I'm threatening to take on f4 as well. So this is too simple, I think, to play for a win. It's too... It doesn't feel as complicated anymore.
Yeah, and I think we have a move. We have e5 on the board. So Arjun Erigasi playing the best move according to the engine again. If there is a way to put on pressure, he's finding it. Whether it gives him the desired result or not is a separate question. But right now he is playing best move after best move.
Maybe we can just go full screen and feel the tension that's coming from the tournament hall, which is just exactly one floor above us. And here e5, knight c6 is an option. Bishop takes g4 as well.
Arjun looking very confident, by the way. It looks like he's about to trap Firuza's queen or something meanwhile. So we saw, I think, knight c6. Anything else that comes to mind? Like, I don't see any other moves, right? Because if you move the bishop back, I can just pick up the knight. So it seems to be like pretty much forced. Knight takes c6.
So knight takes c6 or bishop takes g4 is not very good. Yeah, because bishop g4, e d4 could be possible as well.
Yeah.
E d4 I think it keeps that imbalance on the board. And but I think if Firuza wants to if he wants to play it safe, he can just take the knight on c6, take the knight on g4 and go into that opposite colored bishop endgame we spoke about, or bishop g3 as well.
And you know what the best move in this position is?
h5? F5?
Yes, it is F5. It is actually F5, which is rather ridiculous, Rakesh and Sahej, because you don't really... Oh, we have a move.
Knight c6 played.
Knight c6 played.
Okay, queen take should be automatic. Yep. Oh,
No.
pawn takes c6.
Let's go.
Wow. So Arjun Erigasi is creating imbalance after imbalance, and we talked about this pawn, right? Difficult to draw the bishop. Now maybe it's much easier to move that bishop.
But if I just play bishop g4, what's the catch? Bishop takes g4, ef4 I guess is the only
Yes.
move.
Yes.
And okay, like bishop f3 or something. Maybe bishop c8 also is equal, of course, but bishop f3 I think is maybe
5,
similar.
I guess.
Now queen d4, no, just... I mean, I've got double pawns on the a file, but you've also got double pawns on the f file. So, and plus this is the same colored bishop ending. The pawn on c6 falls. Hard to play for a win here, I think.
Yeah.
I have to agree. So after b takes c6, is there another move? Let's say white takes on g4. Is there something else for Arjun? Because otherwise...
Queen d1 maybe? Queen d1. Because rook d1 you have bishop g4. You
Bishop
could
d1,
argue that.
ef4,
Yeah.
bishop f3 maybe.
Same
attacking
situation,
the pawn.
yeah?
Yeah, but I don't see how Arjun wins this, yeah? There's basically no chance of winning this endgame. So if Firuza wants to draw, he could get very, very close. If he, the best move is bishop g3, by the way. That's what his mind might be telling him, but he has to kind of swallow that and say, okay, I want to draw. I'm okay, taking this knight. He can have one look at the Nodirbek game, realize it's a draw, and then pick up that knight.
Makes sense. He's won the first 2 games, then drawn all of his games after that. I think he is looking at the championship trophy there.
Safest approach. I win the first 2 games, draw the rest, and GG.
Yeah.
By the way, Andreikin still taking his time to capture that queen back on a4. I think he's thinking whether he should, maybe go for queen b2. I mean, that queen is looking, or maybe queen e4 as well could be a possibility, because you do have some kind of an attack cooking on the king side. Queen e4 is such a bad move, yeah?
I mean, it does have a nice side. Black is not developed, but any move, I think.
Maybe he's thinking knight e4.
I actually like knight e4. Why queen b2? Let's say, what does black do? Because first of all, if you play h6, then knight e4, and white is actually doing okay.
So queen f5.
Queen f5. Let's say knight e4 anyways.
And now just short castle. I mean, you are a couple of pawns down in this position. It is an imbalance, and I think if taking on a4
Maybe
would just be equal, I think.
First bishop p2, because if you're going to castle, I'm going to keep the knight on g5 then. I keep this knight hanging here and basically delay castle.
And if you go castle now, then there is maybe queen c2, h6 and h4, yeah?
Yes. So I delay the knight moving to e4.
So castle, I think, is it working? Queen c2?
Wow, plus
h6 and h4, I thought.
g6, no? h6, queen h7.
Oh, sorry, yeah. What am I saying?
g6 and
h4, yeah.
Oh, this is very strong. So
this
going
is very
back,
good, I think. Yeah, you're right.
So maybe like knight d7 then?
Wait. Knight f, no, knight e, bishop h5 maybe? Let's provoke g6.
Wow, now you have to castle actually.
Now queen c2. And now you're playing g6.
Oh, f5 now.
Tough.
Maybe because knight is on d7. So
Just in time.
Just in time. Okay, still the game goes on. Yeah, it's not over actually.
Oh, he takes on a4. I think he's going into the end game. I think he's been solid, I think, throughout this event. I think made all draws. And I think today looks like it's going to be a draw as well.
Yeah, I think his routine has been that a couple of laps in the pool, solid chess, 2 masala chais in this red cup, make the draw. Let's go tomorrow.
And after this move, I think instantly Firuza will also now take on g4. Yeah, he's like, okay, now this Nodirbek can't win.
Nodirbek can't win this.
Yeah, so now I'm stress free.
It's still possible. I mean, he is a pawn up still, and if I see knight d7, knight b6, still some problems to solve.
Knight e4 played.
Yeah. Oh, so he doesn't take on c4.
Nope.
And now knight d7 perhaps. That's the only move, I think, to have knight b6 and also to stop knight c5, like you mentioned.
This knight looks so good, yeah. I mean, coming to d6, it's black has no defense on these dark squares. And look at these broken pawns.
What if, he goes bishop a6 first? Sahil, your dream is completed. Knight c5, bishop b5, bishop e2 and a6, and the triangle is complete.
Oh wow! If this happens on the board, I think we can even give a Chesscom membership away. This is an insane structure, and that bishop is actually officially can be declared as a pawn now.
Tall pawn, as I say.
Wow! So going back, this is the live position. Queen takes a4, knight e4 on the board by Andrekin, and bishop a6 seems to be the way to temporarily, at least, hold on to the pawn. Let's see if he does it.
A couple of folks joining us at the normal time of 3 p.m. We started an earlier today. Just updating you guys that Gukesh versus Hans has already finished in a draw.
Yeah, a very quick draw.
Yeah. A bit sad, I think, because that idea of rook e1, rook
that was
e2
beautiful.
was so nice, actually. Such a beautiful move. Okay, I understand. Also with this draw, I think it was also very important to stay above 2700, which I think is what Gukesh, did, which was, I think, a smarter decision in retrospect. But, as a chess fan, seeing bishop h6 and seeing those ideas was just beautiful.
For sure, 2024 Gukesh or any rapid blitz event, he plays on.
Yeah, 100%.
And I feel like Hans will have a few thoughts about that game. Would love to hear them at some point. What he feels about bishop h6. Does he think it was a nice idea? Maybe he saw rook e8, didn't see rook e8. But those moves are very, very tough, I think, for him to find over the board, let's say.
True.
But meanwhile, knight d7 played, Sahaj, as you pointed out, preparing knight b6 if need be. Now white can still pick up the pawn and just transpose into the lines we've already seen.
Exactly. Maybe you can go knight b6, king e7, and I think and for Nodirbek to try and push in this endgame, he has to sacrifice the a4 pawn. Maybe white will go rook a1, rook a4, and then you try for knight b6 and you try to push the other a pawn, on the same file. That's maybe the only way that he can try to press here. I don't think maybe Andrekin can press here. Maybe I'm being a bit too optimistic here from the black side, but I feel like black has more chances here.
Yeah, I do agree. I think maybe if something goes wrong for, let's say, Nodirbek, I think it's still going to be pawns on the same side of the board, right?
Yeah.
But if something goes wrong for Andrekin, this pawn could become very strong very quickly. However, how well Andrekin has played, I kind of feel like this is going to end in a draw. And I think that will, I think, give Nodirbek second place at least. But okay, let's figure it out as we go along.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I'm going to the game of Firuzja again. He has gone for it. Firuzja taking the safe approach. He wants to seal the first place. He's like, I could play Bishop G3 and push against Arjun, but I've already worked hard in the first few rounds.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it safe. He exchanges pieces. That's the number one thing you should do when you want to simplify the game. Go for a draw. And unfortunately for Arjun, I don't see how he can push here anymore, because it's to push against a tournament leader, you need serious imbalances, and I just don't see them here.
I think he just saw the game of Nodirbek and he said, okay, all I need is to make a draw in this position. And that's what happens sometimes.
And he can see it on the screen, right? There's a screen in front of him,
Yeah,
so he doesn't need to
yes.
get up. So he definitely had a look at the Nodirbek game and instantly played Bishop G4. That is not an inaccuracy. It's a brilliant move, actually, in terms of the practicality of the tournament.
Yeah, the tournament situation demands Ali Reza to play it safe, and he does so. And I think Arjun has the option of a couple of recaptures here, but either one doesn't really help him.
Can we have the cameras as well? So first of all, if you take the bishop, for example, queen d5, cd5, bishop e5 is an opposite color bishop endgame, where Arjun cannot win in a million years. What else can he
He
do?
has to go queen d1, I think. Or he has to go queen d1 or ef4. I think bishop g4 also queen takes g4 is very good, because ef4, queen f4, you're just a pawn down. Everything is in the same square. So I mean, there is no way Arjun can win this, because he's playing the same position with a pawn down.
Yeah, ef4 also, like, even just queen d5, like, even that should be equal. But I think even just bishop f3 is completely even Stevens. I just don't see how you push here. And the last try, I think, was after bishop g4. I think you mentioned queen d1 you mentioned, I think, as an option. Bishop d1, now an ef4, bishop f3 back. And again, like, how do you even push here as black? You have to defend this pawn either via bishop d7 or bishop b7, and I just bring back with tempo. And only white can be better here with rook d4 or rook b4 to come attacking this one.
And also, there is some pressure on the c6 pawn as well, so he has to defend that. Bishop f3, I think, is a very smart move from Firuzja if it happens on the board. I think this means that perhaps there is only one game that, following the trajectory of this event, there is 3 draws and 1 win. And I think that one result could be Nihal versus Pranesh.
Yeah, true. And jumping to that game quickly, I think Nihal realizes that black is about to gain a ton of space. So that's why instantly challenges the d4 pawn with pawn to e3.
Still, I think black can go for the f5 and c5 break in the center, gaining more space. But yeah, this game would be our only decisive hopes ahead. Otherwise, everything else pretty much looks even Stevens.
It does feel like we might have a quick day today, at least for majority of the game, because Gukesh's game ended very quickly.
No, Nihal will play, I think. Pranesh, I think, will play as well. I mean, because we asked him yesterday what was his secret, because after he defeated the world champion, we asked him, like, what changed today? Because looked like you were trying to, just go all out, from the first move itself. And he said, I had breakfast with Adiban. So maybe, that could be true for today as well.
Is he here, Adiban? I don't know.
No, he was here. I mean, yesterday. I mean, because he said that, just being in the same, because Adiban has this reputation of being a very aggressive player, very creative player, and you could see that in Pranesh's chess yesterday as well, and today as well. I think he is trying to push. I'm guessing bishop g4 is a possibility, attacking the rook on d1. Then there was these f5, h5 ideas as well to try and keep an attack, but I agree that with the knights being exchanged, it's difficult to create kingside play for Pranesh. But I do like Pranesh's position more, because you've got center control. You've got complete central control with the pawns on d4 and e5. Plus, bishop g4, rook has to answer some questions. Then I could play f5 as well. I think he plays bishop g4. Wow, on the board.
Oh, that's me. That's me.
No, he's
He's played.
as well.
He's played. Okay. F5.
He had
on the
breakfast
board.
with you today.
Actually, yes.
Wow,
He was
really?
sitting on the adjacent table. I don't know if that helps, but bishop g4 on the board, and now I think rook has to move. I wouldn't consider playing f3, right? Because feels rather weird. The bishop is now trapped in front of the pawn, so I would rather not play that pawn. So rook e1 or rook f1, maybe rook e1, just not to give that tempo again. And then let's see what Pranesh has up his sleeve, because he does have more space and a better position, and is also up on the clock.
Absolutely. So now rook has to sidestep to e1, and I'm sure Nihal is not going to do it, right? Do you think he's going to do it instead of rook e1?
F5, yeah?
No. Instead of rook e1, it's Nihal. I'm saying, can he do it?
No
His
way.
pawn takes d4.
No chance. No chance.
I mean,
bishop D1
bishop
is actually a
D1, queen
mistake.
D1 is very good for white. I think that bishop on e4 is a monster. You could technically do it.
Interesting.
And winner of this game gets third place.
Oh.
So at least minimum they can also be second if the tiebreak is better.
What's the follow-up here after pawn takes d4?
So
I'm not
apparently
sure if I
black has to
understand.
find F5 and we have a certain some dialog box
Yeah.
on the screen. If we can remove it very quickly, it seems to be covering the board. But F5 is the move here.
Yeah. Producer G, if we could remove that.
The only word I see is privacy, which clearly the dialog box doesn't have.
Yeah. I think they're just trying to fix that. And you were saying F5 is the move,
That's
right?
tough. That's
It's
tough.
a good visualization exercise, I think, for the audience there. But I think bishop G2, I will just try to defend my bishop. You take on D1, I guess. Queen takes D1.
And E4. That makes sense because you close the center.
E4.
I get some time to develop very quickly.
E4 is very clever, yes. I was thinking, because if you go pawn takes D4, I would not believe that having the pawn on F7 is, well, better than having a pawn on F5. That looks like a very bad position for black.
Yeah, I think this is collapsing for black actually. So going back, I think it's possible. Sahaj, I think you've been looking for that rook sacrifice all day yesterday. I think today it could happen if Nihal Sarin
Queen
wants.
sacrifice also happened,
Yeah.
in that game of Hans as well.
Yeah.
So I've been searching for that really crazy sacrifice all around, and I think this could be it. Pawn takes D4, F5, you said. Any other possibility for Nihal after F5 side?
I mean, F3 is a move, but
Yeah.
I don't want to play it in a million years because black would just drop this back.
Golden pawn.
Yeah, and then suddenly, this bishop is kind of trapped, yeah? F5 is incoming. I have to now again play F4 and while I do like moving the F pawn, maybe here I'm going to side with Sahaj. I'm not going to push it around.
No.
So rook e1 I think makes the most sense to me, but I do like e takes d4 as well. Let's see how Nihal Sarin does this. He has 53 minutes now. Wow.
Yeah, I took a slight peek here. Firstly, bishop G2 is not that bad. Like after ED4 F5, bishop G2, bishop takes rook, queen takes bishop, pawn to E4, and okay, bishop E3, you can play this. It's not really
Wait, rook B2?
very clear. No, that must be... Oh, it's working, yeah?
Yeah.
But your king is still in the center. It looks like white should have some play in this position. I don't like the pawn on E4, of course. Let's try for something crazy. Let's play G4.
Oh, wow.
But if you go pawn takes G4, bishop E4, and okay, now I think I can
How
make...
bad is this actually? I'm curious. Pretty bad. Pretty
Pawn
bad. Pretty
E4,
bad.
I think
Okay.
those light squares, I think is...
I like this.
done.
G6, now bishop G7 and castle is my
But
plan.
my idea was pawn takes F5, and then if you go pawn takes F5, then it gives me queen H5 check ideas. And if you go queen takes F5, I'm guessing that's what you're going for. Your king is still in the
That's also
center.
not
There's-
great. Yeah, and GF5, there's queen H5 check and queen F7.
I mean, your king is not safe. The black king cannot really castle anywhere. I mean, yes, my king is not safe
Ooh,
either.
yeah, because now I can play rook G8 actually, and I'm not sure who's attacking. Because this
How the tables have turned.
F4, F3 is incoming, yeah? So this could be dangerous for both sides actually.
Yeah, true. So maybe he shouldn't do it. Yeah, he shouldn't sacrifice his exchange.
Apparently your idea is very, but you have to find C5, which is a weird move to play in this position actually. And the idea is bishop F1 and bishop C4.
Stopping the black king from castling.
Wow.
Yeah, basically using prophylaxis here. If black goes bishop to E7, let's
Bishop
go bishop
F1,
F1, short
castles.
castle, bishop C4 check, I guess.
King
King
H8
H8, and okay, we can play this, right?
yeah, we can actually. Some potential. The bishops are very, very strong.
Not really sure who's... I mean, yes, it looks like black has, the exchange, but white has way more active pieces, especially that bishop on C4 is a monster.
And also a passed pawn. Like I could play D5, take, and the C pawn also runs very quickly actually.
Yeah, and you look at Nihal, he's actually maybe thinking all of those variations in his mind. And does he take the risk though? Like he doesn't need to. He's at a good 50%. And he's not in a must-win situation. But these ideas are very interesting and would definitely cross his mind.
Would love to see it though, because all the three games don't
Yeah.
promise that much excitement. Jumping back to the least exciting right now, we have a couple of moves. After
Arjun.
bishop takes d4, Arjun does find the best capture there. Queen takes d1. But now after bishop takes d1, it does seem like the position is very, very, very close to equality. And it would take a borderline miracle for Arjun to win this game from here. And Firuzja slowly but surely moving towards first place at the 2026 Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters.
This just shows Sai that how important was yesterday's result. Arjun was toe-to-toe until yesterday with Firouzja, but that one rook trade blunder against Nihal Sarin, which brought him to second place, and now that blunder is going to cost him the title of the Quantbox Chennai GM 2026.
Agreed. It's just one loss. Yeah, you cannot.
Yeah.
If you want to win an event, you want to finish first, you cannot afford a loss. And just one loss. Arjun played so well, but yesterday that game is going to cost him the title potentially. Otherwise, this would have been equal score, right? And,
Correct.
And a draw would have automatically triggered a tiebreak. 3+.
Which we would have loved.
Oh, we would love to see tie breaks. Like 3+2, 2 games would be intense. Maybe Nodirbek somehow pulls it off, but as of now, looking very unlikely.
Yeah, I think this is just a draw. I think this will head into a very, very quick draw. I think the only game that I see lasting maybe more than an hour is maybe Nihal versus Pranesh, provided that, Nihal tries to sacrifice the exchange and, goes into some complications there. But I think that is the game. But that's a match for third place, correct? Maybe, that's I think, motivation enough to, try and push from both sides. But here, very unlikely. Looks like Firouzja is going to draw, and I think Arjun will be second in this scenario.
Yeah. So, by the way, we have a move from Firouzja. And it is, let's see what it is. I think Rook Bishop D1 would be the move,
D1,
of course.
E4, and then I think Bishop F3 is what we expect. And yeah, I think it will be handshakes very, very soon.
So, by the way, I think we are very close to our first break of the day. Just want to get a quick roundup from both you guys. I think Gukesh has finished his game. That's a very quick draw. Next, we have Andrakin versus Nodirbek. This is the current position. Your predictions ahead. Your prediction, Rakesh.
I think a nice quick draw here as well.
I think Nodirbek will try to press here because he has the extra pawn. But with correct play, it should be equal. But I somehow feel black is more comfortable because you have the extra pawn and you can use that pawn as leverage. Because anytime white goes rook a1 and rook takes a4, those are two extra moves I can use to activate my position. Maybe that is with c5. Maybe that is with bishop b7. Maybe I defend the pawn with knight b6. I don't know which one he's going to go for. But I think it's a more... Practically speaking, I think Nodirbek is going to try to press here. Whereas, on the Arjun board, I think he really cannot press in that because I think that game is completely over. Like it's completely dead.
Yeah. I think at least there are chances of somebody making a mistake, basically.
And you can never count Nodirbek in the end game, because I remember it was that game, I think I've mentioned it before, the match that he played against Prague in the Tata Steel, that 4 versus 3 rook ending, it looked like a complete draw, but somehow Nodirbek found a way to win that match. And so in the end game, I think he's a very dangerous player. I think he will try to press, but with correct play, Dimitri will have that perfect, 7-round draws.
And he should be proud.
Wow.
Okay, that's a low-hanging fruit there, Rakesh.
After I feel the candidates, it's unfair because that was 8.5 out of 13. I mean, and now especially that game against Fabi, that was unbelievable.
We love Anish.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
By the way, F4 played by Andrakin, so he's maintained a very strong pawn chain on the dark square, so looking like an imbalanced position, but close to equality. Then, of course, we have...
Just to point out, if Nodirbek wins, he actually triggers a rematch from just 2 weeks ago, where at GCT Zagreb, Alireza was leading throughout. Nodirbek makes a comeback, and he triggered an Armageddon match for the title in Croatia. So
wow,
I think he's going to push. Nodirbek is going to not take a draw easily.
Of course. Not till the very end. Until you have keys on the board remaining, he's going to fight. Next game is Nihal versus Pranesh. And this is the one where we are expecting a long game, some exciting chess. As Sahesh pointed out, an exchange sacrifice is also possible. Or even just rook e1, right? Maintains dynamism, gives black the initiative. So let's see how this game turns out. I think this is the game that will give us the result.
Absolutely. I think rook e1 has been played.
Not yet.
Not yet. But I was thinking rook e1, f5, bishop b4. You're getting a lot of your pieces out with a tempo on the board. So it looks slightly more comfortable for Pranesh. But the moment he sacrifices the exchange, I think Pranesh would have to make a lot of accurate moves, a lot of top moves in order to not be in trouble. So it could go either ways. But yes, I think a result is most likely in this game.
Yeah. And finally, Firouzja versus Arjun, the game where Arjun is looking for a win, but right now looking tough. I mean, he's going to fight. We know what a fighter Arjun Erigesi is, yeah? But as of now, Firouzja should be quite happy with what he has. It's an even position, a couple of double pawns, but doesn't matter as much. Even material and endgame. And I think very likely a draw, and that will enable Firouzja to take the first place, and Arjun might take second.
Yeah, and unless Nodirbek wins, it's going to be Ali Reza's tournament to win. So if not wins, it's going to be a tiebreak. No matter, we don't see other tiebreaks. They head into a 2-game blitz playoff. If needed, an Armageddon as well.
Wow, Armageddon is going to be so cool. But I think, judging by how the game has progressed so far, it looks unlikely. I think we do have a move. Pawn takes f4. I think anything played since then? Or he plays
Bishop b3. I think also a decent idea. You're pressuring f7 now. And the game is interesting. But I think this is the moment for Arjun to sit down and figure out how can he really confuse Firouzja, create some chances, because you never know till the very end. Yeah, we've seen worse things. You've seen that blunder that Ding made against Gukesh in the World Championship. Yes. Unbelievable mistake. Sometimes when you're under pressure, stakes are high. The last match, anything can happen. So this is the time for first break. Really back on the other side with some exciting chess. And we are back after that short break. The action continues on the final day of the Quantbox Chennai Grand Masters. And I have two co-hosts with me, Sahaj and Avinu. Welcome to the broadcast. कैसा लग रहा है यहाँ पे?
अरे बढ़िया बढ़िया बहुत मजा आ रहा है भाई.
And now we have the live position. I think we're going to quickly check out the position there. We have a few moves there, Sahaj. I think Bishop F5 was played in the Arjun game. Rook D1, Rook D8, Rook D4 was played. And he is tempting black to taking on D4, but Arjun does take, C takes D4, King F8, and it feels like we have a bunch of simplifications. We have a target, black has a target on D4, white has a target on C6. Slowly but surely, I think this might simplify into a draw, yeah? Look, C1 play.
Not so sure. I think maybe he could still try to play on. I feel like Arjun is pressing in this position because he has the double F pawns, white has a double A pawns, and I feel the double A pawns are not as useful in this position. But we have a very strong grandmaster with, here with us. Abhi, what do you make of this position?
Yeah, this is very very close to a draw. Like I would say, it will 90% end in a draw. Like, but in these sort of positions, there are, if you make one inaccuracy and another, if you're not somehow feeling well, like if you're Ali Reza and you're trying to just close the game out and you make one inaccuracy, you can suddenly be in a situation where you need to start playing accurately. But I doubt that he will give many chances here.
So question for you, what actually, how can white actually make a mistake in a situation like this? Is it that you are trying to play solid and in the process you maybe lose your sense of danger and maybe you make a couple of hand moves and then maybe something can happen from the black side, or do you think it's not, the position is too simple for that?
It really depends. Like for example, in this position, ideally black wants to bring his king to d6, pawn to f6, and let's say he gets that and rook to e8. Suddenly, like you have to start thinking as white, like you can't close the game now, you have to keep playing. And something like that, if it happens, then maybe I would think that before that happens, Ali Reza would probably get some rook c pi, some d pi, something in. But yeah, I mean, generally to professionally end the game in a draw, it is somewhat always tricky, but okay, I think Ali Reza will manage it. Yeah.
48 minutes is a lot of time, actually. That's the main problem, right? Because if he had a minute on the clock, maybe there were some chances. But I think Firuzja probably closes his game comfortably and takes first place unless Nodirbek can somehow cause an upset as well. And maybe we can jump to that game very quickly and briefly check it out. This is where the live position is. We left it around here. What do you make of this endgame, by the way? Very weird, yeah? Black has these broken pawns. Pawn up, but slowly but surely, white will pick up all of these pawns one by one.
It's
I think we have a couple of moves after this. King e7, f4 was played, a5, rook b1, and then I think he offered a trade of bishops there. Takes, and white goes king d2. Now, my question is, who is pressing here actually? Because it looked like Nodirbek was trying, I mean, he has to play for a win here, but it feels more comfortable for white here, Abhi.
Maybe it's the question is who is pretending to press here.
So who is pretending to press here?
I feel like, okay, white should be pretending at least, but it's actually a bit trickier than it looks maybe, because black is not able to get c pi in, and in general, considering the tournament situation, maybe Nodirbek doesn't want to get this in very soon, but he wants to somehow keep the game going and, create as many things. Nodirbek is the sort of player who would think of moves like f5 here and just, I don't know why, but like something weird like, and just to complicate things.
And from Andrekin's perspective, do you think that he is okay? I mean, he has had all draws so far. I think he has maintained, I mean, he's been quite solid in this event. And do you think in this position, considering the tournament situation, does he try to also press here or pretend to press? Or do you think for him, a draw is a fine result?
It will be a fine result, but okay, his games were very interesting. Like yesterday's game with Hans was very, very interesting. Yeah,
100%.
Many points. So, but yeah, here also, I mean, white is obviously on the top of things, but we just don't know by how much. Okay, he'll play some rook b7 and, get this rook in. If knight on d7 moves, you get knight c5. This knight d6, it is sort of like a move which seems very good at first, but then you don't know what to do with this knight exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel knight should remain on e4 for now.
Yep, threat is better than execution. I think this is a good example of that because you want the threat of knight d6, you want the threat of knight c5. And on top of that, I think Avi gave me a very good idea that after rook b7, rook takes d7 check is also a very big threat in the position. Not that Nodirbek is going to fall into that, but it's nice to, have, moves like that in your hand. So maybe we can conclude that it looks equalish, both of them pretending to press. And I think most likely the game is going to end in a draw here.
Wow,
Would
that's
that be
gonna...
accurate?
Yeah, sure. It's a good description.
Talking about draws, there's one game which is still not sure to be a draw. That's the game of Nihal Sarin versus Pranesh. Pranesh coming off that huge win against Gukesh. And now we have a bishop endgame, rook bishop endgame. What do you make of this one though? It feels like black has more space, has a more comfortable position.
Oh yeah, I'm very impressed with Pranesh, especially the way he played in this opening. And yeah, you're just okay. I think you can probably go bishop d5, I'm guessing. And yeah, I mean, white wants like b3, bishop b2, but for now his e3 pawn is attacked. But maybe he gets it anyways, like king f2, b3, bishop b2 here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is some accurate way for black to play here, yeah?
Possibly. And would you say this trade is favorable for white or black though? If black just takes on f1?
The thing is, in long term, this is good for white because you take, let's say you get your king to e2, pawn to b3, bishop b2. Suddenly, black does look a bit shaky, like the c6 pawn is weak. But okay, just wishful thinking.
And I think you were saying bishop d5 as a possibility, which is, of course, trying to connect that isolated pawn because that bishop on d5 holds the c6 pawn and also keeps some pressure on the queen side as well. So it's a more human move to go bishop d5, but bishop f1 also possible. But again, this feels like equalish. Yeah? All games, I think, leading towards a peaceful draw.
Yes. I don't know about peaceful, but for now it does seem so.
And talking about peaceful draws, how peaceful was this one for you? Because I think bishop h6 was a surprise for all of us. And, when you look at it first glance, it shows as a blunder. But there seemed to be enough, complexity there for hands to not being able to find the best variation. Were you surprised by seeing that move?
When I was watching the game without engine, I thought, okay, what a smooth game. But yeah, bishop c3 is... it is very dangerous, yeah. Like rook e8 especially. And,
it's very difficult to play this move, I think, over the board.
Even now, like bishop h6, like I was analyzing, bishop e5 and rook e1, queen d6 is the only move, I think.
Wow.
So...
if you go rook takes c5, then you want to capture back with the queen and keep that g3 square control.
Exactly. Otherwise, white is just better winning here. So,
wow. It was a tough decision. But what do you make of, of course, we understand, Gukesh had 2 losses back to back. And of course, one of them was against Arjun and the other one against Nihal. Both times he had a winning position. So we understand that it's not maybe the best mental space for the world champion. But barring that, do you think in this position, b takes c3 could be played and he could carry on with the position? Or is it too risky to play on in a situation like that?
I don't think he probably thought that the risk reward ratio is very skewed here for him. Like I can just think of moves like knight e4 and like, okay, I don't know if it's a good move, and f3 queen d6.
We were looking at bishop takes, pawn takes, and rook e1, rook e3, rook g3. It goes into some long rook endgame, which is indeed equal. But I felt like there is some merit, and I since bishop h6 was played, I was guessing that this must be the world championship. World champion preparation there. From the white side, and possible to play, but looks risky anyways.
For sure. But again, maybe he was mentally prepared to just close this game out already. So
that makes sense. So I think that ended in let's say a peaceful draw.
Yep. He stays above 2700, by the way, psychologically a big deal, right? Because he plays the Olympiad. If he had a rating of 2697, that's quite different to 2702, I feel, psychologically. So a draw, maybe he's getting half a point on the scoreboard, stopping the bleeding, right? After 2 losses in a row, maybe a fair decision by the world champion, of course. And now jumping back to the game of Firuzja versus Arjun. So rook c1, as you mentioned, rook c5 on the board. And now black simply plays g6, defends the bishop. Not much has changed though. I think still white completely fine.
Yeah.
I think so. I think after G6, yeah, I mean, it looks like again a draw, but I feel once you get the king on E7, king on D6, it is possible.
And also, like, I think we talked about who's pretending to win, right? In this position, who do you think is pretending to win? Is it white or black?
Arjun. Like
Arjun, right?
psychologically, also, if you think about it, Firuza is in general would be very happy with the draw, and Arjun, of course, like draw is not the worst result for him, but of course he wants to win. Yeah, he wants to at least create problems here.
Yep, and 49 minutes on the clock. By the way, we see both the players, and also we see Firuza wearing the same sweatshirt for the entire event. Is it something you thought about, like like maybe a lucky sweatshirt for Firuza?
It's quite fashionable, though. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It is.
I think he's wearing the same kind of jersey, each day. So, let's actually do a bit of a deep dive here. Abhi, you were mentioning the move D5. Now that I think about it, if I go pawn takes D5, rook C8, bishop C8, I mean, I see a same end game.
D5?
A2
pawn is hanging, no?
Yeah. And the point, I guess, is bishop E6, bishop E6. You have to take FE6. You'll get FE6. And then this pawn end game is...
Oh, wow. So
and if I move the bishop, let's say to C6 or something, that endgame with bishop takes A2 is apparently quite good for black. Like it's
winning.
Nearly winning.
Wow.
So some chances maybe, yeah?
Yeah. The problem is he can't close the game. Like like you just want to finish the big game. You don't want to keep playing. But yeah, it's not going to be super easy for Alireza, perhaps.
And also, I think Arjun himself made a similar blunder yesterday, right? That rook b5 move, I think, where he exchanged a pair of pieces to simplify the game. Could he win in the same fashion? That would be epic. But
exactly, that's a good point.
But maybe Firuza can just play h4. Yeah, just put the pawn on the dark square, no risk involved, still pretty safe. But d5 is a tempting move to liquidate instantly, and that's been his philosophy, right? He played bishop g4, I think somewhere here. That showed his pattern. He wanted a draw. Even the opening itself, playing the Alapin kind of showed Firuza is comfortable taking a draw in this game.
100%. And I think even though you have h4, I think the follow-up is really not that easy for white, because the natural response, I believe, is to play g3, because you want to create some space for the king. You want to get the king active. They say that in the endgame, king is a piece itself and you want to activate it. But whenever you play g3, black can just capture back and untangle his pawns. And suddenly it's almost like Arjun is playing with an extra pawn. So this could be something, at least in the position. Maybe not, I think hold very much holdable territory for Firuza, but maybe some chances here, Abhi.
Yeah, could be. These sort of positions, many times what happens is you play the best move according to engine with white also, but you don't make the absolute practically best move, which closes the game. So it's very... I would say schematic in the way white should think. Like it's more about where should I place my king, where should I place my rook, best to defend. Like where should I place my bishop and stuff like this. But
so maybe the bishop for Alireza is like, I think, in the right place. Mm-hmm. What do you make of the king? Should it be on C3? Should it be on E3? Provided you play G3, what should be the best plan here?
I would guess it would be best on D2 or C3, and rook probably on A5. And that would be the best place. But even if you get everything, it's still like, black just keeps playing. Black just, slowly tries to push his kingside pawns somehow.
Because you have got the pawn on F4 there, G5, H5, H4. You could try to still carry on with the position.
Yeah, but it is precious little, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think you did something similar in the last year's challenges section in round 1, I believe, or it was round 2. It was maybe not the same endgame, but I think the idea was to try and, keep pressing towards the end, very end. I think it was you were playing against Harika, was it? If I'm not mistaken.
But
it was a different position, but I feel like you just kept on playing, and it was like I think that was the idea to try and press, and it looked like for a very long time there was nothing in the position, and suddenly there was something in the position.
For sure, that's Magnus Carlsen school of chess. Yeah.
So hopefully, Arjun can channel that inner Magnus, in this game. So far he's played G6, very Magnus type move there.
And also want to ask you, Abhinyo, about this tournament in general. What's been the most surprising thing you've noticed? Like something you did not expect? We have so many strong players here. Is it like Pranesh's rise? Is it Gukesh performance? One thing that stands out to you as something which we were shocked by?
I mean, it's not shocking, but like you said, I was impressed with Pranesh. Like his play has been very stable. He has shown that he can compete at this level. His opening preparation has been great. Generally, he has gotten like amazing positions all the time from opening, which is not very easy. And as for Gukesh, I think it's a big shame in the sense that I don't think he was playing particularly badly.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
It just felt like anything which can go wrong is just going wrong.
Exactly, because generally speaking, we were saying that at least in the past, we knew that fast chess is something that Gukesh was struggling with in the past. But here he had so many times where he had less time, but he held the position for such a long time. And against Firouzja, it was just a shame. That H6 and H5 just came down to one move, and against Arjun and then against Nihal, both of them winning positions. Again, time pressure, but he held on for such a long time. Played, I think, really good games, but. You're right. Anything that could go wrong was just going wrong. That's the best way to summarize it.
Yeah. So sometimes, the chess god Kaisa is just not with you. What can we say? And apart from this, I would say like Ali Reza, putting forward a strong performance again in classical. Well, it's not very surprising, but still it's amazing to see in general because, when he's playing well, it just feels very interesting because he always has such interesting games. Yeah, his games are never okay, except for today maybe. But,
but okay, today I think he has a purpose in his head, which is to try and be solid, which is very anti-Firouzja in this sense because generally he tries to have a game, but considering the tournament situation, he's completely he has not lost a single game, won the first two games and has just been solid throughout. But Arjun, in this sense, I think Arjun has to press. I think he is trying to put some kind of a practical pressure in the position. You mentioned that White's king should be on D2. So maybe let's do a bit of a deep dive in the position. What if White plays king F1 here? Like, how does... I see the bar... Okay, maybe it's kind of stable. How do we continue? Black goes king E7 and
king
then...
D3, king D6, king D2, yeah? Okay, let's assume F6 now. So you want to play rook A5, right? I think that was the plan.
Yeah, I think rook belongs on A5 generally. And
let's say rook C7.
Rook C7, yeah.
You should never play G3 here, right? Because that kind of complicates. Because at least I will untangle my pawns. Maybe it's still equal, but I think you will untangle the pawns. And another thing is I think you can never play you have to think twice before playing D5 because C5 is a never long threat. But since Abhi pointed out, I think that there's D5, C5, rook A6 check. But now that I think about it, there's king E5.
Yeah.
So some merit in the position, yeah?
I think the best thing to do is do nothing. Just play rook A6 and... ask, okay, what Arjun is going to do. Maybe Arjun plays bishop here, bring back rook A5. Just be chill.
So I'll play G5 maybe, I'll block your A6 square and...
Yeah, but rook A6, maybe now I want D5. I was hoping at least. That this
so
is
bishop
not too
C8
bad.
first, you will go rook A5. And then let's say I go G5, for example.
Yeah, that does
maybe rook C5 now, yeah? You just have the same philosophy, but maybe like a different square.
Yeah, maybe. But now you get H5, H4 and then you have to think.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you surely have to think. So.
It's tough to do nothing, right? Because he's sitting and Arjun is improving his position. He's actually gaining space.
Runs into H4.
H4.
Let's play rook G7 perhaps.
Yeah, and this thing, I just want to wait, but you're making me think. So.
And if you take, I think you take with the rook also now, kind of forcing the rook trade. So this will get very tricky very quickly.
And maybe it's, strange to say this, but maybe time can become a factor. And I know it's Firouzja and, playing with the white pieces, who's usually known for his fast chess. Apart from, being the youngest 2800. I feel still time could be a factor because if you're waiting, if you're being patient and if you get into a position like this with, let's say, 10 minutes on the clock, you could try to make some, let's say, rash decisions that could be, that could have some drawbacks.
If you feel the nerves, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
If, if Black managed to get an actual sort of slight edge, you can relate how it feels when you're in such an important moment in the tournament and stuff 100%. Like this happens.
By the way, this is the live position right now. So we made a lot of progress for Black and none for White. Only the king came to D2. Is there a simple way to equalize? I like your move G3 now a lot more, Sahaj, because it just kind of stops these pawns moving forward. And my king can simply sit on E3. Is that a plan you will consider again? Just pawn to G3. I know we get rid of Black's double pawns, but while in control, yeah, he's okay.
Maybe Abhimanyu can answer this question better because he understands. I mean, but I feel this is after you play something like G3, you're just basically saying I'm playing for a draw. I mean, you are saying that at least even right now,
By
but
the way, for some reason,
it's impossible for White to win this. I think.
F3 is the recommendation. Okay, that makes it a lot more complicated.
Wow.
I didn't even consider this.
Yeah, exactly. And
Can I play D5 or there's Rook E8. There's back rank ideas, yeah.
wow.
Yes.
Okay, this is how you lose. So I
And
found
Rook
a way.
C1 C5. So D5 Rook E8, Rook
Let's say
C1
F3,
C5,
D5, Rook E8,
Rook
Rook C1 and
C5.
C5.
Wow.
That's something.
That's a lot actually, just in 4 moves.
So what if you play H4 just to be after
I'll
C5?
still give you the C5 pawn maybe. Like check, Rook F1 will be there and you don't have Rook C2.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So maybe like Rook E2 or something. Okay, he's going for the H pawn. He
Okay, we
plays
have a
H4.
move.
I think that's maybe a pretty decent move. Doesn't feel like he's giving any concession here to Arjun. But now easy move next. I mean, you can just play King E7, I guess.
That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
But I guess you Rook E5 check. So maybe F6 first, yeah? Just to. So,
Oh yes,
Ah,
yes.
okay.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, you can come Rook E5, King F6, but
But I want to go to D6. kind of.
exactly. So,
Maybe repeat the position once. I don't know, King F8, Rook C5, or not Rook B5.
I don't think he will play Rook C5. I think maybe he goes Rook A5 there.
Yeah,
in
true.
that sense, maybe slightly improves the position there. But I think with the move H4, Ali Reza is saying that he doesn't want to play G3 because it's hard to play FG3 in the position. You always want to make. Maybe in this position, maybe it's still the same thing. But I don't know. I feel G3 is more and more. It's becoming more and more unlikely.
it's a very instructive move, maybe H4, because it's basically prophylactic because black wants that G5 H4 H5 H4 plan, and basically you are saying that okay, if you do get G5, I'm going to exchange one pair of pawns, which is of course good for defense.
Of course, that's a great point. I think, but at the same time, I feel maybe in some dream scenario, what if I get F6 G5 and maybe I provoke you to take on G5 and then I can untangle my pawns FG5. I know this is like I'm living in a fairy tale here, but it's possible perhaps. F6.
Also, by the way, once you play F6, there is no Bishop E6 anymore possible. So White can actually just play D5. So that's another problem, right? So
So you mean I cannot capture everything and play Bishop E6 in the
Yes.
But that endgame still feels difficult because let's say if I
so
take on D5,
okay,
Rook takes C8, I guess.
Rook takes C8, Rook takes D5, both look tempting. Oh, that's some mistakes.
That's what I thought. Bishop D5, King E7 and Bishop E6 is still possible in the position. And to evaluate this endgame as losing for White is difficult, I feel, because it's kind of similar to like, Sahil mentioned yesterday, exchanging the rooks against Nihal. It felt like that knight would just put a blockade on D4 and it would just be like a simple draw there, but it wasn't a simple draw. I mean, maybe a similar situation could happen here.
The more we are thinking about it, the more it's becoming apparent that exchanging bishops for White is a very big achievement. If he might manage to exchange this light square bishop, his task of drawing would be very easy.
Yeah.
So maybe you should just try to, I don't know, bring king to D2 and try to play bishop C2, bishop B3 and do nothing basically.
Just like force the draw, yeah, as much as possible. Maybe I can then put my bishop on E6 and make you play bishop takes E6. I could go F takes E6 and I will pretend like I achieved something there, but it doesn't.
But I think with rooks on, that is pretty much fine for White because like your king will be on D3. It will be very stable. Rook on A5. So.
But one silver lining, I believe, for Arjun after doing all of this analysis with you guys is that if you manage to get into a king pawn ending here, that could be winning for Arjun. Not just like better, it could just be winning here because that F pawn on F4 is quite strong.
I think that's fair. I think we're far, far away from a king pawn endgame. And also, I think Firuzja, look at him right now. I think he's pretty relaxed. I think he has no stress on his face. I think he understands that, okay, I have some problems to solve. But at some point, I'm going to trade the bishops, as Abhimanyu mentioned. And then, of course, the rook endgame is pretty handleable for him. So for now, I think Arjun may be the one pushing. But for now, Firuzja in control and likely to hold a draw and get first place unless Nodirbek can create some chances. He's put every single piece he has behind that pass pawns ahead. So
I heard rook behind pass pawns, never heard rook behind two rooks behind double pawns. But I feel if he just leaves the pawn on A4, the rooks are maybe not that active in this position. Can I play rook b7 or?
Rook b7, rook a7 maybe, yeah? I don't know which one, but let's say rook a7. And that's just a trade of rooks. So...
Rook b1, perhaps?
Okay, rook b1.
Oh, already I think the bar is not liking this. Perhaps a3 is there, rook takes b7 and a3 is also possible.
Yeah, this is a nice distraction. Yeah, it's going to waste enough time. Let's say takes, rook a1 back. And if you manage c5, I think I'll give you that's basically a draw, yeah, in the correct circle.
But these positions can be tricky for white because, there's this famous saying, knight end games are like pawn end games. And an outside passer is always somewhat tricky. Of course, it's, again, very little, but
no, I
this
saw
can go wrong.
Cool line there instead of rook takes a7. I think, I don't know if it's working, but it's something like knight c5. Is that working? Because
A2.
I was going to play rook takes d7 and rook a1. Just to be fancy.
Nice.
Okay, maybe it doesn't lead to much, but my initial plan was maybe you're going to go rook takes b7 instead of, going for all of this, instead of going for a2.
Okay.
So I think you're after knight c5.
Knight c5. Sorry, knight c5.
And rook b7, rook b7. And you're promoting to a queen, but maybe I have a repetition there somewhere, like check, king e8, and I don't know, something.
Wow.
Is that a repetition? Yeah.
It is. The king cannot escape. Yeah. There's no way to basically. You can go to d8.
But then knight a6 check will be there.
King
That's
c7
so funny, actually.
and knight a6 check. Wow.
That's
Rajbhai is very creative. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for some queen, some bishops, some sacrifice, throughout this and trying to force it now,
But I don't think Andrekin will be playing for a draw here. I think he would try to maybe keep rooks and play something like rook b2 maybe.
He has a move, by the way. He's played pawn to c4.
And you're right, actually, he is.
Wow.
That's a move that says I want to play for a win here.
So now, also, anytime black gets c5, white has d5. And that pawn will be a monster.
Yeah, c5, d5 would just, if we can show it to everyone, I think c5, d5 would just be very close to being, okay, it's not lost, but it looks lost, I think, because of those central pawns on d5 and e5. And that knight on e4 is also sitting like a monster. So some problems there for Abdusattorov.
I mean, Andrekin has been pretty nice in this tournament. Yeah, has not really been suffering in any game whatsoever and is now pushing against Nodirbek as well, who's also kind of forced to go for the win, right? So we might see a result here. I think it's becoming more of a reality now.
Possible. +1 is a nice score, I think, at the end of the day. But
pretty impressive.
I think we'll see how the game...
And going to the Nihal versus Pranesh game, what do you make of this, Abhimanyu? Because I think we left it here. He did choose bishop d5, king f2, b3, a5, bishop e2, and a4. So kind of breaking the queen side. What do you make of this right now?
This could liquidate, like some rook a c1 and bishop c4. And again, then the question is who's pretending to press in the end.
My head was going into after rook a c1, a takes b3, a b3, bishop e3, but there's rook b3 and bishop c3 there. So a b3 and bishop e3 I was thinking and rook b3, but sadly you have bishop c3 to save the day. So
bishop e3 here?
Bishop takes e3 I meant. And then
okay. Sorry.
But you have bishop c3 at the end. But okay, it's not really relevant.
Okay, going back, this is the current position. Maybe bishop e5 also, just stacking the rook. Be very simple.
Okay, I see another interesting thing. I've been trying to do this throughout.
Don't sack the exchange, please.
So rook c1, no. Rook c1 is just an interesting line. a3.
Okay.
If you go rook takes c5, there is, just ignore the bar for a second. ab2, rook c2, there's rook takes b3. I think.
But still, I guess
c4,
bishop c4.
Bishop c4 check. There's always a check somewhere. There is always a check.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure if someone can spot tricks, it's Pranesh. He is a beast in studies and calculation. This is Nihal, to be honest, but I have seen Pranesh solving, and it's a very interesting thing. He just spots everything.
And it's a good question overall. Like who can calculate faster? I mean, we both know when it comes to calculation, they're both, I think, 10 on 10. But when it comes to faster calculation, I think there can be a debate at least, because I think Pranesh is also extremely fast.
For sure. And he's fast and very tricky in a very weird sense. Like he'll spot things which others won't. But Nihal, of course, I don't know how much I've lost to him online. It's probably the number is extremely lopsided, and it's always something like this. You get to a position similar to this and he pulls off some wild swindle.
Yeah, that 15-0 streak against Firouzja by Nihal was insane. Yeah, I mean, even he couldn't believe it at that point. So, and both of these players, by the way, will be playing the EWC. So, who's the sharper and the fastest player? We'll get to know there as well. And meanwhile, I think Nihal, I mean, behind on the clock, but this is more than sufficient time, yeah, to I think hold this game maybe.
Yeah, so 3, I think, healthy draws with some, I mean, and it feels like black was, oh, actually, Nodirbek has played c5 in that position. So what we were discussing
Wow.
has actually happened. Wait, d5 is giving some concession to white, right? This is not Nodirbek playing anymore.
I'm guessing he wanted rook b6, rook b4 or something, because otherwise I don't know how to think of this. Yeah, like, but rook b6, and some
d6.
d6 check and king c3. This looks already very.
Oh, and this is actually surprisingly equal, which makes no sense.
But can I just go knight c5 and knight a4, or is that really no, not here? After
Check first, yeah.
Check first,
Check.
and then I
Let's say
take
king
on.
d7 or king d8, because this comes with check now.
But you want your king on
King
c6.
c6. Okay,
I'm guessing.
takes king c6.
And now knight a4. Okay, tough to play this for a win, yeah. When you have a
Knight a4.
protected.
Knight is on b6, no?
I thought the rook was on a1 this whole time. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, so I think he's playing for the win. Yeah, he's getting complications there, but
It's a very interesting choice, yeah, because he wants rook b6 and rook on b4. That rook on b4 will be very annoying to deal with for white.
so can you play a3? Like, this is the engine's recommendation. Distract the rook and then maybe go for your idea somehow.
Maybe, but I really feel he wants rook b6. I have a feeling, but a3 also looks very interesting. Of course, probably white plays something like king c3 here, and
a4 perhaps.
a4.
a4. And
Passed pawns must be pushed, I guess.
and I want to eat your passed pawns now, like rook a1.
Rook a1, but now rook b6 maybe, yeah? Rook a1,
Rook b8. Let's
Rook
do,
b8,
just to
let's
keep
go.
the rook on a6. I feel like the rook on a6 has more value. I'm not sure why, but
Yeah, and you take rook a3 and
like let's go rook b6 as well.
you want to go
Let's
ahead,
just sack everything. That's the
wow.
theme of the day.
Yeah,
Something,
possible. But again, I think Ali Reza is fighting for a draw here. I don't imagine he can win this. Like, I can see a draw. Like let's say rook h a1 and like rook b3 check, rook b3, king c2, rook b4, king c3, and
Oh, knight b6.
oh my god, I missed nine.
Oh, also this pawn takes d5 and the knight on e5. There's some like
I missed like 4 tactics in one. But yeah.
Okay, let's give a check once. Yeah, let's just seal this for once. But oh my god, so there are mistakes from both sides that to be made. No? This game is not just over completely.
I think Nodirbek played this c5 just to try and complicate matters, and he's hoping for some kind of a mistake from the white side, and there is no other way that he could have done this. And I think very nice practical try.
But can we have the camera also for Nodirbek? We'd love to see, how his body language looks. He looks very confident. But the chances, of course, slim still. And Reckon really has made no major mistakes this entire event. So let's see if Nodirbek can create chances out of thin air. So Sahaj and Abhimanyu, I think any predictions for the number of results we get today, or are we seeing 4 draws? We had a couple of very exciting days, but maybe 4 draws are possible today.
I think there will be 1 result and 3 draws.
And
Just like how the tournament has gone, yeah? Every day 3 results and 1 draw, basically.
And which one do you think that is?
I hope it's Arjun, Firouzja Arjun, of course. Ali Reza Arjun. But I think this game could also have a result. And because, Nodirbek is clearly aiming for a lot. So...
And if that happens, you might see a tie break between Arjun
yes.
and Nodirbek. That would be quite interesting.
But yeah, to wish for 2 results will be
it's
very tricky.
Wishful thinking at the end.
But even it could be Nodirbek and Ali Reza.
Yeah, that is also very much possible. Because after this move c5, I feel like it's easy to go wrong from Dimitri's side. I'm thinking pawn takes c5 or knight takes c5 just to try and kill the game.
But is he going to kill the game? Because c4 already is an ambitious move, right? So it looks like he's also in the mood to push if possible.
Yeah, but when I see c5, my ambition is gone now. I'm happy to take a draw now. Okay, no, it's fine. I've got enough ambition.
Okay, this is a dead draw, yeah? I think this is basically nothing. So if he wants a draw, he has it. But Will and Reckon really go for it is the question. D5 looks too tempting, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably, even in a normal game, I would be too excited and play deep and then start thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
for sure.
By the way, we also have the Olympiad coming up very, very soon. I think 5 Indian players, 3 of them here battling in this tournament. What do you make of India's chances there this time?
Uh, I do think it will be trickier than 2024. The teams, Uzbekistan team has gotten stronger, and other teams are like China will be strong.
Oh, look at that! D5 is played. Let's go. But yeah, Abhimanyu, please carry on. I think just got excited because I think the position became extremely
Look at how
complicated
fast
here.
Nodirbek played
Oh
F6,
my
by
god,
the way.
F6. What?
Wow.
Yeah, you were right. You said Nodirbek will play something like F5 or F6, and that's on the board. Wow.
Yeah, he's thinking of things like this. Yeah, he always wants to create chances in any way, and
So yeah,
Very
you were
interesting.
saying that about the Olympiad, the Uzbek team has gotten a lot stronger. I believe it's also because of Madaminov, who just won Uz Chess recently.
he's strong. Of course, Sindara is.
Of course,
has
we're
moved to
mentioning,
another level as well, and yeah, it will be tricky. But okay, that being said, we have an amazing squad. Like even like Nihal has played, I feel, very well in the last 2 years. So it will be. We will have I would say pretty decent chances. But again, it's about that day and how players are feeling then and so on. But and in women's group also, I think we have very good chances.
For sure.
I hope Humpy plays this time and we can see her,
In action.
Yeah,
sure.
She did not play last time. And also, who do you see as, you mentioned Uzbekistan. Any other teams do you see as, very strong competition for us, I think, in the Olympiad?
I think Turkey has gotten a lot stronger with Yagiz and Ediz Gurel and so on. And apart from that, of course, there are the usual, USA, China. I don't know if Russia is going to be there, but that team as well. And then Iran is always, very tricky opponent. And there's a lot of tricky games. By the way, Germany, if you think about it, they have Vincent, they have Bluebaum who played in Candidates. They have some amazingly, I feel, underrated players. So they
The
can
Swane
also
brothers as well.
Exactly, Rasmus and Frederick, and they can be a tricky opponent as well. So
according to you, the biggest, let's say, the competitor, if you could name, let's say, 3 nations in the open and in the women's section, who would it be besides India? Who would be the biggest competitors?
I think in
Fighting
general
for
it
the
would
gold.
be USA, China, and Uzbekistan in open, and in women's it should be. I don't know if what team China is sending. Generally, China
Not the
is
strongest team this time again.
generally China is very strong. Georgia, Ukraine, and yeah, and I think there will be some others. I think even in women's section, Kazakhstan is very good generally nowadays. They also have a very good team. So yeah, I don't know who else actually. Poland sometimes is. They also have a very good team. So we'll see. Who do you think will be the underdog in the Olympiad?
That's a good question. I think Germany, probably in the open section for sure. I think Germany is it's difficult to call them an underdog because Vincent is there and Bluebaum is there
Yeah.
But I feel like they have we saw them at the World Cup and there was this unity in team. They were kind of helping each other in some sense, and I feel that makes them a very dangerous team for me. And also, I think the coach depends. It also matters a lot. I think in 2022 in Chennai, for example, Uzbekistan maybe was not a favorite to win that tournament. They were the underdogs, but I think if as long as you have a young team, like a hungry team, and they have a coach who can really understand them, I think that can really make a difference. So yeah, and what about you, Sahil? Who's the underdog for you?
I think maybe Turkey as well. You mentioned that one name, Dogmas, right? I think that one name really rings a bell suddenly. Would love to get your thoughts on that accomplishment as well, right? He's already ahead of Gukesh, for example, at the age of 14, and maybe he just turned 15 or something like that. But what do you make of a guy who's 14 and 2700 rated? That's insane.
It's Lamine Yamal, yeah. Lamine Yamal.
Yeah.
But Yeah, it's just, I think, unheard of, like reaching those levels at such a young age. I mean, even I don't know if anyone has
Nobody has
achieved.
before. Yeah.
Maybe only Fisher could have been close in
Hmm.
terms of this, like reaching that ranking at that age. But
I think the record was before this held by Wei, who
Uh-huh.
did it at the age of 16, I think. So 2 years was the difference.
right.
And I see that, just 2 days ago, on the 19th of July, Erdős actually defeated Blue Bomb. That too with the Black Pages. So, you're right. Turkey could be a huge underdog in this sense. I mean, when I say underdog, I mean, they have a 27-15 player who's 14 years old. So it's going to be fun.
I think youngsters do pretty well at the Olympiad. Yeah, Uzbekistan, when they won, even the India B team did pretty well. So a lot of underdogs actually. And meanwhile, by the way, in the game F6, what do you make of this? What do you see as the best attempt of when you have for white? Because if you take on F6, I mean, black can probably take back. We discussed this before as well. Is there any other option apart from just grabbing the pawn on F6 or E6?
I always want to make D6 check work, but you just go back and I don't know what to do then exactly.
Yeah, this could be a
Probably, I'm also thinking like Sahaj bhai, like trying to get rook b7 and knight c5, some cheapos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's contagious. Yeah. This
So right now-
thinking is very contagious because then you just look for the
But again,
sacrifices everywhere.
Again, rook a7 and
Yeah.
where are we going?
Actually, you're a very strong player yourself. And I mean, you just wanted to get your thoughts on Nodirbek, Sindarov. What do you think are the strengths of these players? What separates them? I mean, of course, Sindarov has had this resurgence, and I mean, not resurgence, but he had emergence into the top 5, and he's now 2-7-7-7, I believe. And Nodirbek has been at the top for quite some time. But you mentioned something along the lines of always trying to push for the win. How would you differentiate these two players in terms of their style?
Okay, firstly, I think both are mentality monsters. Like they have an amazing mentality. Like, the way they push, like for example, this F6, it's not like everyone can find this sort of a thing, yeah, like, and try to push for a win in this way. So they are mentality monsters. I would say Sindarov in last 1 year has been amazingly stable. He was always a very strong player, but he has managed to find that stability in his game. And even in candidates, did he make a mistake during the whole of candidates? I don't know.
No.
I think game 1 maybe he was slightly
worse in the first game, but never lost, I think. If I can remember. I think that mistake, I remember one mistake, he was completely winning against Esipenko, that bishop a4, where he went into the end game when it was -4. But okay, I think you could
even
say...
Blue Bomb, right? I think
it was Blue Bomb, not Esipenko. Sorry, my bad. I think... but yeah, apart from that, I think not really. It was such a stable game. But how would you differentiate them in this sense? Or do you think they're kind of similar in their playing style?
They're a bit different. I think... Nodirbek thrives a bit more in simpler positions, like like end games, or like some positions where there is less material involved. And Sindarov is also very good in this position. I just think Nodirbek is extremely good at it.
It's like his specialty, you mean? Like,
yeah. And Sindarov, I think, is his calculation during candidates was just such a big thing for me. The way he was doing those press conferences, I think I was watching them and I was in complete awe. Like he was, the way he defended against Pabi, the way he was calculating variations. I played against him in Grand Swiss last year, and we were analyzing, and I felt like, wow.
So, follow-up question. Who do you put on board 1? You are the coach of the Uzbekistan team in this hypothetical universe. Who do you put on board 1? Sindarov or Nodirbek?
I think you can put Sindarov on board 1, but that's just my 2 cents. And about Nodirbek, you can put him on 2 or even 3. I mean, he will create those points. He will win a lot of games and stuff.
Your move, Sahaj. Rook b7 on the board, actually, with some knight c5 ideas. He's gone for it. And now Nodirbek needs to come up with a defense, because I think this center is kind of breaking apart now. So he needs something clear and concise.
think that's a very interesting point you have brought up, that, Nodirbek finds moves like f6. I mean, it just so happens that it happened, in the last move. But yeah, like he would try to prolong the game in some complicated manner, even if it feels simple. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, for sure.
And Sindarov, in this sense, is more, let's say, dynamic and keeps more pieces on the board, likes to keep more pieces on the board, and thrives in those complicated positions.
He does, but I think we are talking of like 19-20 here. Both are amazing in both
That's a
all
nice way to
positions,
summarize
but
it.
yeah.
And by the way, it looks like the complications have worked in, to some degree, because Rook B7 was a dubious move. And now Rook B6 is perhaps the idea that Abhi was mentioning, because Nodirbek wanted to put that Rook on B4, and, it's an outpost, attacks the pawn on C4 as well. And on top of this, you are also inviting the exchange of the rooks, which may not be ideal considering that he just moved that rook to B7.
At this point, white has to make a choice, yeah, because it's already equal. Either you exchange everything and head off into equality. But I feel if you make a mistake, then maybe your idea rook b4 at some point, even knight comes to b6. Let's say you take, knight b6. Already this is attack, this is attack. Everything is kind of under pressure. I'm not sure if this is very simple for white to equalize. Or do you think so? White can equalize whenever he wants.
I don't think this would be very simple, because now I want to always play d6 check. But king d7 and okay, if knight c5, king c6, knight into e6, there's f into e5, and things are still murky because takes, then knight c4, knight e5, and it's not what you want as white. It's still fine according to computer, but I just don't think white wants this sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And if you could go back like a bit, yeah. And if rook b6, maybe d6 check first you can play, because I just don't want king to get to that good square. And rook b6, knight b6, knight c5.
Now maybe
Pawn
takes, yeah. But e6 is also hanging.
I'll go king d6. I was thinking knight c4, knight e5 I have as just saving grace in the
knight
position.
c4, king c3, knight e5. Maybe rook f1. Threatening something here.
Don't play knight d7, there's rook f7.
Oh, wow. That's nice. Even that's apparently close to equal, but
How?
okay. Don't ask me how. But just king e8, no? And
Yeah, and something like rook e1 now, and probably it's close to a draw. Or it is a draw, rook e6 and knight a4. And
You would love to just take away one of the a pawns away from the board and just, use that as a move, because that pawn, I mean, the rook is behind the passed pawn, but that pawn on a4 is just feels like it doesn't have enough force in the position.
True.
Okay.
But I have a question, sorry. If you could go back, like when you took f into e5, could I play king c3? Because, I want those passed pawns. Or king d3 maybe a better
okay,
square.
king d3. That's an interesting move. Because if we take on f4, then I think this is looking rather risky now. What's the best move for black?
By the way, we do have a decision from Nodirbek. He has not gone for rook b6 like we expected. He's gone for rook a7 instead. So a slight difference, but not a massive one, because I think if you take on a7, you can take back, and at least you remove the problem of the 7th rank. If you play rook b1, I'm guessing your plan is a3, or... But I'm again thinking of, the same idea. What about rook d7? Is that working? It has to be considered at least, I feel, because knight c5 check is coming with a tempo, and then a4 pawn also falls.
King e7, I mean, it's
Check.
not clear at all, yeah?
d6 check, and then I take on a4. And I'm going to ask, who's pressing here?
Can you play f5 there and get a lot of pawns rolling after king f7?
Love it.
Oh, wow.
Love f5. Wow. What a move.
It's strong, but it's move.
Look,
Wow.
There's 3 pawns. I mean,
I guess rook e8 is
Rook
good.
e8
here,
is the
but-
only move, by the way, to save that game. So you will have to give that rook back, and maybe you hold this. But wow, that was an insane idea, f5. But going back,
and there was a tactic that actually makes all of this work. If you played rook e8, you couldn't play d7 there, because there was rook takes d7. If you could just go back to that position just for a second.
let's say this is the position, right?
Yeah. So here, if you
Six,
played
F5.
like f5, by the way, love that move. You go rook e8, I think if you go d7 here, there's rook takes d7, and fortunately for you, the king is on d2, so you can trap that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this could be a big problem for black
Agreed.
here.
So going back, by the way, this was a mistake. So what's the best plan? Best plan is actually just ace d6 check. And let's say king goes to d8 or e8. That's a tough choice. Where do you put the king, by the way?
I think E8 generally. I don't know why. Just I want
Because you don't want the checks on c5 and e6
exactly.
maybe,
And this knight will jump to E6 with a check at some point.
And now, maybe the problem is the rook trade is not forced, yeah? Is it forced really? Am I forced to take on a7?
I am still thinking of Abhi's plan with takes and f5, but I think there it doesn't work as well.
Yeah, because knight e5, no?
Yeah, but then fe6, I don't know. I have 2 pawns on the 6th rank.
Wow,
I mean,
that's not looking at
Maybe
all.
just E5 here.
EF5 is the problem, I guess, in
e6
the
just takes
position.
this.
Yeah. But yeah.
So king e8, I don't know, rook c7 maybe.
Rook c7.
That's a great move.
Oh wow, that actually works.
Now, I can't take that one, right? Because
So-
takes and then knight d6 is game over.
Yeah.
So FE5 is generally what you want.
FE5.
And takes and
Takes.
knight E5, rook
takes.
C5. Wow. This could be tricky, yeah.
Again, I want to ask for who?
I think black.
It's tricky for black. You think
Yeah.
white has more chances in this
Because now
position?
you move your rook to B5, play C5, and okay, your knight on E4 is not the best placed, I would say, but still black has to be the one who's to land. Engines generally won't show a big advantage here, but many times, as black, you have to find only moves in positions like this.
Wow. So, and Rekin could also have his chances. That will be, a great finish for him. And a sad finish for Nodirbek if he creates real chances here. But of course, d6 is the move, right? Anything else that comes to mind?
I think
Abhimanyu,
rook takes
Siraj?
d7 is more practical
Rook takes
for
d7,
me.
huh?
I would say that this is maybe the most testing.
Mm-hmm.
And now f5 also here looks interesting. Even just don't take the pawn, just f5 straight.
Wow.
It creates problems at least.
But ED5, I guess, is a
You have
thing.
king c6. King c6 is annoying, yeah. e6 check, and it works if your king is in the back rank, but sadly I can't.
Serge Bhai is having so much fun.
I mean, I'm glad he's sucking a pawn. He started with the queen, by the way, then went to a rook. So we are down to a pawn. That's we can manage that one. But okay, for now, 30 minutes for Nodirbek. So still enough time to figure out the details. So
Let's check out, I
Yeah,
think, how
let's
Arjun
go
is
to
doing against Firouzja.
another game.
You know,
So
that-
first of all, Firouzja Arjun, h4 and h6. Not any moves at all in this game. He's been thinking for a long time,
He has
Firouzja.
18 minutes left.
Yeah.
Time could be a big factor here for Firouzja, I think.
I guess he just wants to find a plan, like perfect plan, and then blitz everything out.
But he is struggling. Yeah, he's not finding something super clean so far that just kind of ends the game, at least in terms of planning. So we discussed king coming to d2, right? That was our plan, I think, with the best attempt. And then of course black will bring his king here as well. And he is keeping this g5 plan long term in his mind as well. But so far, maybe time pressure could become real at some point, Sahaj.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I think in the whole process.
And we have that graph, by the way, the time used per move. I love this. Very interesting. And we see how the time used of both the players has gone up in the last couple of moves. So they are taking this endgame very seriously. It's not as simple as it looks.
I mean, he has half the time in comparison to Arjun. I think this is where the big mistakes happen. But it is Firouzja. Yeah? Firouzja is known for, for his fast chess.
We'll see that in 3+2 if we have a tie break. So
That is if he draws the match, which I think it's still, I mean, still some maybe, you said a 10% chance or maybe something like that, maybe a bit less or.
Yeah, but the thing is, we always discount nerves. Yeah, we think players are superhuman always, but
That's a good point.
I'm pretty sure his reason for his thinking so much is also nerves on some part. Like this game means a bit more than other games because he's winning the event. So
100%. And of course, the FIDE circuit points and all of those things just is an additional bonus that kind of makes you think for longer, makes you more careful than you normally are. And in the process of doing that, you are just taking more time. And yeah, it can happen.
by the way, another game, Nihal versus Pranesh. One look, I think after a4, we had a couple of moves. Rook d c1, attacking the bishop, drops back. Bishop e5 attacks the rook, and the rook comes to b7. So not major progress, but again, maybe black has more active pieces, but still looks kind of even. Yeah. Which game has the higher chances of a result? This one or the Arjun one?
Okay, I think this one. But I don't know. Like I'm just seeing that computer never suggests bishop c4, which I'm finding very natural. Somehow it's not the top move.
Yeah, bishop C. Yeah, I kind of agree. Rook c4 with the b3 pawn is falling. That's why.
AB, and c5 maybe, and like you have to defend a bit passively with white, and black brings his king to d5 and
Oh wow, yeah, that's
stuff. Okay, I mean for now g7 is hanging, but
slowly but surely, and also like white has to play g4 apparently here, and you can't play g6 because the rook is hanging. So perfect timing. But yeah, that's a nice plan actually. Bishop c4.
I know the bar favors black in this scenario, but I feel, I don't know, optically, I really like this for Nihal as well. The bishop on e5 looks nice. The rook on c4 is way more active. And well, black's rook is still on its original square on h8. Would that be accurate, Abhi? Or do you think it is still Pranesh who's pressing here?
maybe you're right. But I think if you want to play for a win with white, you have to go for g4 plan. Then you can't play bishop c4 maybe. Then you have to play some bishop e2 and g4 and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, 19 minutes for Nihal as well. So let's do one thing. I think it's time to take the second break of the day. But a round up quickly. Abhimanyu, we'll get your thoughts very quickly. Gukesh, of course, has drawn. This game, predictions.
Draw.
Saj.
I think draw as well.
So 2 draws we're down to now.
Yeah.
Coming to Andrekin versus Nodirbek. This is the tough one. By the way, d6 check, king d8 and rook b5 played. Only move for Nodirbek. What do you make of this game here?
This has become very spicy.
So hard to predict.
There will be a result here.
Okay, one result.
That result could be a draw too. I'm not sure actually. I think anything can happen, and I think Abdusattorov is trying to make the game more and more interesting, and I just like that as a viewer. I think there is no prediction that I could make that has any basis. So,
I'm going to show you
apart from my feeling here.
like 2 engine moves, and maybe that helps you in your predictions. Sahaj, after f takes e5, white is supposed to play knight g5.
Okay,
After
wow.
e takes f4, knight e6, king c8 and knight c7. I don't know if that helps in making the prediction.
What? Helps who?
Helps you.
I still don't understand anything.
No, this just helps me do what I want to do, which is rook takes c7, and I can at least sacrifice something.
But wait, can you show that variation again? Like I just want to understand the
Knight
point.
check.
King c8,
King
knight
c8,
c7,
knight c7.
rook b8. I guess rook e1 is the point.
Yes, rook e1.
And now let's say rook into b5. This is lost, yeah?
Yeah, now rook e8 check first.
And
Don't
king
go rook
b7.
c7 because rook e8 was a checkmate there, by the way. That is very funny in the position.
Yeah, so now rook e8, king b7, and you pick up this
CB.
rook as well.
Wow. This is complete domination, yeah?
So you said knight pawn endings are like king pawn endings, right? What ending is like this? I mean,
Except when you're getting checkmated.
yeah, it's a good way to summarize it because I think the game just continues. Rook e7, you could even play a3.
I think it's just positionally winning because, black can't do anything basically.
Yeah, it's black to play. Let's say you push a3, yeah?
Just bring your
Apparently just king c2, a2, king b2, and black has no moves.
Oh, the rook is kind of gone.
Yeah.
And that my hope that I had, of sacrificing one of the A pawns, you can see that now. That A pawn is basically the outlier of the, in this position. And
And
as
what
to
happens
why.
on king b6? Nothing, yeah?
I
Nothing
guess
changes.
some rook d8 and some checkmate or no checkmate for you.
Oh, no. Wow. Knight
it's
e5 and
not a
black is
checkmate.
back.
How is rook?
Rook e7 and knight d5 check somewhere, yeah?
King a7 and I don't know.
Oh, this is hanging. Okay, that's a free knight. Let's not make it that easy.
And yeah, here...
Oh, knight d5 check is winning.
Oh,
Wow,
nice,
look at
nice,
this.
nice.
Rook a7, king a7,
Lovely.
Oh, wow. That is
Beautiful.
pretty. Okay, this is like too complicated stuff. Right now we are here. So, result, you're saying it's a result or a draw?
It's a result.
Result.
And I think the result can be a draw too. So
Fair. And then final game is Firouzja versus Arjun. Your predictions, Abhimanyu.
I think it will be a draw, but
Draw.
with a heavy heart.
I think Arjun can press here. I think Arjun can win.
Yes.
I think there is a chance.
Love the spirit, Serge.
No, but I mean, looking at the time, looking at how the game has progressed, As you said, it's not easy to kill the game just yet, and that's what's making me think, because I see half the time and you cannot kill the game. And he played Alapin, he tried to exchange pieces very quickly, and I don't know. I'm getting a feeling that Arjun is pressing. I won't say that he's winning here or that he will win here, but I think he can press for sure.
Wow. So I think maybe I kind of feel draw is very likely, but I do agree there will be some pressing from Arjun. And that means if the commentators cannot agree, maybe there are some tricks hidden in these positions and we could see some results here. We see Nodirbek pushing, Arjun pushing. So let's see what turns out after this short break. On the other side, we will have the remaining 3 results on the final day of the Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters. And we are back after that short break. Time to get directly into the action because we are very, very close potentially to the first result of today because there has been a mistake and it is coming from Nodirbek Abdusattarov. So let's go full screen, have the chessboard and see what mistake did he actually make. So I think this is where we are kind of calculating before he went on a break, right? I think F takes e5 was played, F takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5, and suddenly white has two passed pawns. Black also has two, but they are doubled, and right now they are not threatening at all. So now knight d7, nice move, rook b5, and this is where knight f6 was a big mistake because now comes knight to c5, a beautiful move by Dmitry Andreikin, and the black king is stuck. Knight takes e6 is incoming. The rook has now time to come up. The a4 pawn is hanging, and joining me in, try and take you through this incredible comeback and incredible game by Andreikin is Sahaj Grover. Sahaj, welcome back. What's going on in this game? Because seems like Nodirbek is completely lost.
I mean, that's, I think, kind of the drawback of, trying to play on and, playing moves like f6. Sometimes they work in your favor, but sometimes it can also work against you in this sense. And for Nodirbek, it feels like it has not worked out well because now he is almost losing, if I'm not mistaken. He's completely lost, after knight f6.
And these complications, let's keep in mind who started these complications. It was actually Nodirbek because he needed to win the game to have any chance of finishing in first place. We know what a fighter he is, but the complications have not worked in his favor. And Sahaj, now the question is, I'm threatening multiple things, right? There's knight a4, there's knight e6, and let's say black were to pass with h6. I'm not even forced to react instantly. I can play a move like rook e1, take here with the rook even, and slowly but surely, king c3, the knight will move, the pawn will come to c5, and black's passed pawns are not really threatening at all. Why these two pawns just kind of cruise through?
Exactly, because of those double pawns on the a file. Now, if he could just remove one of the pawns, those pawns become extremely dangerous. Those two rooks become extremely dangerous. The problem is that even if you played a3, I can just go king c2 and king b2. And this is where you see the problem with the pawn on a5. He's went rook c8, and that's another slight inaccuracy, but okay, not a major one. And now rook e1 should be played already on the board.
Wow, Andreikin potentially about to get his first win. He's been, undefeatable in this tournament. So many players have tried it. And now, Nodirbek taking too much risk in this game, trying to maintain his chances for first place. He understood that Arjun, unlikely to beat, Firouzja, tournament leader, the game looked equal. So he went all in, but the chips are not in his favor, Sahaj. And right now, Andreikin about to win.
Exactly. And just to point out, rook e1 was a very important move. In case, let's say, white was a bit greedy and instead played rook a1, would like to ask the audience, what is the best move for black here? You will see the bar kind of jump down in this position. Any guesses why this is a mistake and why the rook on e1 was much more important?
You have to look.
Exactly. Yes. It is rook takes knight. And after rook takes rook, there is knight e4 check. That just seals the game. That is just GG. So rook e1 looks like a very natural move, but it also prevents an important threat from Nodirbek. And I think now Andreikin is completely winning.
Yeah, great find there because you look at what has black played on the last move, right? So you understand rook c8 and automatically the threat comes to mind. Rook takes c5 followed by knight e4. So white has to be careful, and Andreikin was ready. Took just 30 seconds for his move, and look at the time situation now, 14 minutes for 16 minutes. This is exactly the territory that Nodirbek wanted to avoid, or in fact even wanted, but for his opponent, and now he's the one struggling in the same situation.
100%. This does not look pleasant for Nodirbek here. But after rook e1, he has to find a way to defend. I think he will still find a way to defend here. He can play king e8 still.
Oh, that is so tough, no? Like walking into a check somehow.
Yeah, but otherwise knight takes e6 check and your king is kind of stuck in the center. You could have some mating attack, ideas there as well. But after king e8, if you take on e6, I can play king f7 and okay, maybe some chance to hold. And I see the bar kind of dropping there after rook takes e6. So maybe that's not the best move.
Yeah.
Knight takes e6. allows rook
takes
takes c4. Wow, that's completely equal.
Yeah, so you should not take this pawn. That's basically bait from Nodirbek after king e8. And white has to basically play king to c3, defend this pawn with the king, and then he can slowly think about grabbing both these pawns. So that means the game is still tricky, not over. Nodirbek with his chances to come back. So jumping to the other two games, let's catch up with the other ones. Gukesh, of course, has drawn his game against Hans Niemann, going to Nihal against Pranesh. And this one, I think, is the simplest to understand. Saj, I'm not saying there's no chance for either side to win, but a rook endgame kind of signals that, okay, maybe the players accepting that the game might end in a draw.
No, this is just a dead draw because he can play rook f2, black will just take it, white will play rook a3, and I think this is just going to be over very, very soon. I predict in the next 10 to 15 minutes, this game should be over.
Yep.
I think we should definitely take a look at Arjun versus Firouzja because he has played bishop g4, so he did not want to go into the rook endgame.
He did offer that bishop trade and Arjun said no.
Yeah.
The move
Twice actually he said no.
Yeah,
Bishop
Abhimanyu was recommending this move, right? Trade the bishop and you have a draw in your hand.
Exactly. And now bishop g4, now d5. It looks like a fine move, but after pawn takes d5, there is a trap here.
You can ask the chat maybe, yeah? What should white take?
Yeah, should you take the rook or should you take the pawn with the rook? Because both of the captures are possible. One of them is a draw and one of them, I think, white would be losing.
Any guesses here from anybody? Should we take the pawn or the rook?
Should you take the pawn or should you take the rook here? It's an interesting question. One is losing, one is a draw. I think that kind of gives it away itself because one is a very, very committal decision and the other one is not. In this sense, it is rook takes d5, which is a draw. But if you go rook takes c8, also feels like a logical move. But there is bishop takes c8, takes d5, and now we have this threat of bishop e6, and the a2 pawn is toast.
Yeah, and these double pawns are going to hurt you a lot actually in this endgame because you might as well have just one. They're completely useless, but black has more space with the f4 pawn, can use this long term. And a pawn endgame or a bishop endgame, it's very tough to come back from.
He does not even take the pawn on d5. I think Arjun, again, complicating matters here. I think he's inviting Firouzja to play d6 as well. And I think that's a very clever move because if you go d takes c6 in this position, rook takes e6, and we are in a similar endgame where I'm asking you, do you want to trade the rooks? And of course, you should not.
Should not,
because the bishop will inevitably go to e6. You cannot really avoid it. And the a2 pawn is once again toast.
Agreed. But now let's say after maybe d takes c6, rook takes c6, maybe Abhimanyu's move, rook a5, which he mentioned was a very nice one. The rook here, of course, cuts off black's pawns. You cannot play g5. It also attacks the a7 weakness, which is very hard for the black king to reach side. So my rook is also now stuck on c7. Maybe still a comfortable draw for Firouzja.
I don't think this is comfortable anymore because it's hard to make progress with white because white's rook is already in a good square. Bishop's perfect. I don't think you would put the bishop on b3 anywhere else. The rook on a5, I don't really see a better square than the a5. I think the only thing that's left is the king, right? So maybe you will play king f1, king e2, but it doesn't really lead anywhere. Maybe you can put it in the center. But on the other side, black can still make improvements. You can play king e7, king f6, and you can try to push g5 and expand on the king side and maybe hopes of untangling your f pawns, and which would give you a real chance in this position. But I think the real chance in this game is not on the board. It's on the clock. You have 6 minutes remaining for Firouzja. Arjun having 17 minutes in comparison. So, and you can already see, Firouzja kind of feeling the pressure of the clock. He has 6 minutes, now less than 6 minutes on the clock. And the decisions are, well, they seem so simple that it becomes complicated. It's kind of works against you.
I want to go back to this move because I think this is kind of a crucial moment in the game. In normal circumstances, you would expect Firouzja to play bishop g3, maintain his bishop pair, but he takes on g4, right, to simplify the position. And how many times have we seen, one side try to really go for a draw too hard? And then in the end game, get slightly worse position. They keep going for a draw, even worse, and it adds up slowly but gradually. And then suddenly you are in a much worse position with an only move to find. So you could see that happen. By the way, he's taken on c6. Now, important decision. Should not take that rook. If Firouzja he's taken with the bishop or the rook?
He's took with the rook, yes, because he wants to go into the bishop endgame, which we know is a big problem. By the way, just to add on to your point, a move like d6, I think Firouzja finds in a second.
Second.
But since you are playing this game with a more solid approach, you are always thinking about simplification. And I think it's kind of working against him in this sense. He's gone rook d5, and now don't play bishop e6 because that would be trading the bishops. Maybe you can go bishop c8. Very tough move to play. Or bishop f5, I think, is also good. But I just didn't like the idea of h5 there, from the white side. So bishop c8.
King
Protecting
e7. What do you think of that?
King e7 is also good, but maybe you have rook e5 check and you're inviting bishop e6.
Yeah, I was thinking king f6, g5 maybe, but
That's also good. Yes, that's even better. Yeah, but I think in this sense, bishop c8 prolongs the game longer.
Yeah.
And since there is no extra time, I think it could work for Arjun here. He is pressing. I think in some sense he's pressing, but it looks so drawish that it's hard to believe that this would be anything but a draw, but he's still pressing.
If they play 1,000 games from this position, maybe Firouzja does lose one, but that's only going to happen because of the clock. So Arjun has to really use the clock as a weapon in this game to have any chance whatsoever. Wait for Firouzja to enter those seconds, right? When he has less than a minute, and then come up with a crucial, critical move. Maybe that's the only way to put pressure. He does play king e7. Firouzja, of course, will give this check, I think.
Exactly. And now let's be careful. Rook takes d7 check and bishop a4 is going into an endgame, but that endgame is dead lost for white. The king pawn ending is completely lost because you're technically playing with an extra pawn on the king side. Yes, you have pawns on the a file as well, but white's king is really passive. Yeah. So all the time that you will take to activate the king, black can just march to the queen side and just gobble up all of those pawns, and that would just be winning. So of course that's not going to happen on the board, but good to know that the simplifications are not necessarily possible here. And he makes a move. He plays rook d4, attacks the pawn on f4. Okay. I think he's inviting g5 as well. But wait, bishop f7 is possible too, no?
Wait, g5. Let's say I take and take on f7. Then, wait, that is possible. Wait, isn't that just a draw then?
He plays rook f6. I think Arjun does not allow. He does not want to simplify. And also, let's keep in mind that when you play rook f6, you are in some sense leaving the a7 pawn unattended, but rook a4 is not possible in this position.
Luckily.
Because that bishop is, it's not luck. I think Arjun has calculated all of this, but I think it's a good thing that rook a4 is not possible here anymore. He has to be extremely careful to not simplify the position further. 5 minutes for Firouzja. Pressure is rising on the clock, not really on the position still. I still think this is a dead draw, but he's still finding ways to keep the pressure on. And let's say that Firouzja makes a random move here. Let's say king f1 or something. Can I push f3?
I think we've been waiting to push that move for a long time, and I really like that move because if white does take, even accidentally, you split white's pawns now. So it's possible for the rook to now attack this one, then come here, then maybe create some pressure here, then attack this one. So I do see an improvement in Arjun's position after f3, but is it winning?
No.
Really.
It's not winning.
Also,
yet
g3 is still like a potential option to keep
it would have been it would have been better to play f3 when the king was on g1, because you could still play rook e1 check and put some problems on the f2 pawn.
We have a move. Rook f6.
Bishop a4. Interesting. So he's offering the trade of he's going
chasing it again and again. Yeah, he's really going full in for the draw. Yeah, that this could backfire in some cases. Sahaj, he has to be very careful as to not force a draw too much.
If you play bishop e6 in this position, can I go bishop b3 or?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. I think that's the plan indeed.
So basically, we're going into some kind of a rook ending, most likely, unless Arjun plays bishop f. Bishop f5 is not even possible because f4 is hanging. So let's play bishop g4 maybe.
Okay, let's say bishop g4. But isn't g3 now possible or no?
Oh, g3 is nice. G3 is very nice, yeah.
I mean, you have g5, but
no.
that leads to so many trades, yeah?
gf4, rook f4 and some... Okay, yeah, this is a draw. This is a draw. So now I think maybe he has to play either bishop c8 or he has to play bishop g4, or he has to just trade the bishops.
Okay, if you trade the bishops, I think this is a very simple draw.
Yeah, very simple draw.
Because you can put the rook on a4, attacking a7, attacking f4, and there is no way on earth I think Arjun can make any improvement. So Arjun, I think, could be having his last long think of the game. If he can't see a way for him to keep the bishops on long term, this might just be a draw. He needs to find a solution to a very tough problem. Plays bishop g4 actually on the board.
Yep. Now again 4 minutes for Ali Reza. So some pressure there on the clock. G3 is the move that simplifies the position further. And g5, we already looked that you can just capture all of the pawns and the end game. Even though you might go into a bishop ending, this is just way too little pawns in the position. If you had just one more pair of pawns on the g file or on the h file, I think there would be more chances to play for a win for India number one. But
Also,
this is a draw.
This pawn is the wrong color, yeah?
Yeah.
So no chances
Good
there
point,
at all.
yeah.
Going back.
Wait, he plays f3. He didn't play g3.
Okay, f3 also looks okay. Because now this pawn is,
Kind of fixed.
yeah, decent move, not a bad one.
So if I play bishop e6 now, what are you doing?
Bishop e3 again.
I have to allow, I think, bishop takes e6. He plays bishop e6 on the board, and I think bishop b3 we will see very, very soon. If you play bishop b3, I can technically allow you to go bishop takes e6, because then
That's
that
true.
will untangle my pawns in some sense.
But rook a4.
Then I have a5. So I was thinking bishop b3, rook f5.
Ah, rook f5. Yes, very important actually.
If you take on e6, f takes e6, and okay, rook a4, I'll have
rook
a5,
a4,
and the rook
a4.
defends down
I
on the
think-
queen side.
Arjun would take this, yeah? At this point, he would take this endgame because at least he undoubles his pawns.
It's something, yes.
Yeah, king f6, rook b5, e5 or g5 or something. You have some plan at least. Maybe the king comes to g3 in a dream world. But as of now, dead draw. Bishop e6 played.
Yeah, he's going for it. Bishop b3 played by Firouzja as well. He's keeping more. He's trying to play a bit faster, keeping more time on the clock. So bishop b3, and I think I am expecting a5 from Arjun there. I see a dubious move there, but I don't think it's a dubious move necessarily. I think this is still a dead draw here.
And by the way, okay, Arjun has played bishop d7. So he's gonna repeat, I think, bishop a4 still, yeah? Maybe just repeats. Okay, let's have one brief look at the game of Nodirbek, who's completely getting crushed. We have a few moves. I think we saw rook e1, which was a beautiful move, controlling rook takes c5 and knight takes e4 fork. And now comes king e8. He found that move. And to Andrekin's credit, he does not take that pawn. He plays the best move, king c3, defending the c4 pawn, moving the king closer to this pass pawn as well. Comes a3 distraction. Knight takes e6 finally, grabs that pawn. A2, but there must be a winning discovered check here, Sahaj. I mean, there has to be something.
Yeah, this is winning. This is completely winning. Now I think Nodirbek is okay with a draw, but it might be a little too late to play for the draw here.
Yeah, I think there should be a winning move. Maybe knight c5 check, for example. King f7, and then you play king b2. Grab this pawn as well. I'm sure there's g7 also that's hanging. So, tough situation for Nodirbek, although Andrekin has 4 minutes now.
Yeah, the pressure is rising, but so is the eval bar, as we saw a little bit earlier. I think.
Wait, what?
What happened?
I saw the bar down. I got shocked for a second that the bar was completely in Arjun's favor, but that's just a transmission error, I think. Wow, I was shocked for a second. We have a rook end game, by the way. A couple of moves played.
Yes, rook end game. Takes, a6 happens, and he goes king h2. A very interesting thing. Even a5 is possible here from the black side, because I think the rook is kind of stuck. The rook is stuck defending f4 and a6 as well. So now Arjun has to sacrifice something. I think we're seeing a draw very, very soon. And that would mean Firouzja would win this edition of Chennai Masters.
Indeed, I think he's played it very smoothly, right? Had a very good start and never looked back. No problems whatsoever. Has really not been in serious trouble in any game whatsoever. That one Arjun game was a minor scare, but overall has played fantastic chess. I mean, he's not changed his play at all, not changed his sweatshirt at all. He just kind of continued as he started.
Yep, the lucky sweatshirt, as we call it. It's been working for him in the throughout of this event. I think he will play king d7. White will go king h3. Maybe he will play h5 to try and, play the position on, but looks very, very tough.
Wow. And by the way,
Play on.
Also checking the game of Andrekin quickly, because looks like he's made a mistake. After a2, he had to give a discovered check, Sahaj, but he goes for c5. And Nodirbek up to Starov has played the only move, king d7, and he's back in the game. So maybe, wow, could this go? Look at him, yeah? He's suddenly excited.
Wow, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. This looks insane.
Let's see what happens.
Very, very interesting position there as Nodirbek Abdusataro wants to, he's creating some chances if he wants to force a tie break. And, Sahaj, I'm not sure if he can win this game. But to take us through to the next segment, we have a very, very important person in the chess fraternity in India. Welcome to Prachura from Bangalore and also the owner of the Fires American Gambits.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here, sitting amongst two accomplished chess players and analyzing this game. Very well organized tournament. I just arrived and I saw how well it's been organized and what kind of players they have attracted. It's unbelievably good for Indian chess that such a strong tournament is happening in the heart, of Chennai, which is the place of chess, you can say, within India. So very happy and glad to be here, both Rakesh and Sach.
Thank you so much, Prachura. But speaking of strong players, well done on your team this year. I feel like it is not even a question. I think your team that you've selected for this edition of GCL is massive favorite for me at least.
Okay, and I hope
well
so.
done.
I hope
well
they are
done on
favorites.
that. I think
I mean,
all the
fingers
players
crossed.
you've chosen are just like absolutely unbelievable players, especially in faster formats. So I see some like
Right.
nice selection there. So
Speaking of, your teammate in Fires American Gambits, let's have a look at Nihal Sareen, how he's doing.
Very, very keen to see how he's performing, of course. And regarding the selection of the team, also equal efforts and shout out goes to Srinath. He was the architect behind picking of the players during the draft.
absolutely.
Helps me a lot with a lot of data and a lot of analysis behind the scenes.
Captain for a reason, yeah. Absolutely. So this is the current position of Nihal going against Pranesh. I'm not sure if you know, but Pranesh yesterday had a great game against the world champion.
I did follow.
He basically tried to just cruise through, and he just had this wonderful attack and got the better of the world champion. So he's in good spirits, and even in this position, it looks draw on paper, but we can see 2 rooks on the 7th rank, pawns on the 6th rank. I feel this is some chances, but most likely going to be a draw.
Yeah. How though? I mean, the A pawn is losing, is it?
I think he might go for A6 at some point. Black will play Rook A2, I guess, and then you
Okay,
go...
so you just go King G6 and try to disturb the rook on the other side.
Yes, exactly. Because the rook would be, in some sense, overloaded because it has to defend the A6 pawn and also the H2 pawn.
Yeah.
And I think that with that he will just take on A6, and we might see a Philidor play out, in this game.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pranesh beating the world champion, Prachura, you also have Yavakir Sindaro in your team.
Wow.
What a crazy pick that was. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So unfortunately, we had Hikaru unavailable for the entirety of the event. So we had the icon board options open. From the players that were available in the pool, obviously Jaokir was, we thought, as the best pick, and we really went all out for him. So yeah, really happy to have Jaokir, and we also have Bibisara in our team. So hoping for some good team bonding.
And Dubov as well, yeah.
Oh my God.
When it comes to fast chess, I think you've picked your pieces like in the best way. You have Dubov, you have Sindaro, and you have Nihal in your team. I mean, that's
We probably
ridiculous.
have the youngest team.
Yeah.
In terms of if you see the average age, I think
The
we have
youngest coach as well in Srinath, I think.
Yes. So overall, we have the youngest team. Yeah. Happy about the team, but it all depends on how they perform. Because last year also we had a great team. We were the number 1 seed on paper, but we ended up coming last. So you never know, right? So we just hope.
This time, I think
hope and
it's
pray
going to
that-
be very different, I think, because you've got some very, very good pieces in this puzzle. But yeah, Rakesh bhai.
Lastly, to wrap up the GCL topic, the Global Chess League is happening in your city, Bengaluru.
Yes.
How happy, proud, excited are you about that?
No, of course, I'm super happy. It's we are the home team this year.
Yeah.
So hoping for a lot of fans to come and cheer for us. and also an occasion for Karnataka chess. People in Bangalore, people in and around Karnataka, people in and around Bangalore and other states to come in and witness this amazing event where you have Magnus Carlsen coming in this year.
Yes.
That has never happened in for Karnataka or in Bangalore. So that's a great occasion, and let's see. I mean, how it pans out. Very, very excited, very nervous as well. Looking forward for a great event. Yeah.
Someone else who is nervous is Ali Reza Firouzja. If you can go to his camera, because Sahaj, what do you think about this position? Does he have enough venom to win this game and take home the title?
I was thinking if I can go Rook F5, Rook takes F5, G5, and maybe I can trick Firouzja into thinking G3 is a draw. But after G3, I can just leave the pawn. Yeah, I can play King C5, you go pawn takes pawn, and okay, maybe I have something, but I still see this is a draw. But King C4, this of course is a winning, but I think you have G4 at the right moment. So I think Firouzja has less time on the clock, but we know from the GCL itself that, in faster formats, he's someone who's extremely strong, and I think he should be able to hold. I think throughout this entire day, Firouzja has been trying to keep it solid because he has half a point lead over the rest of the field, because sadly Nihal defeated, well, not so sadly for you, because Nihal is in your team, but Nihal defeated Arjun yesterday, and Arjun was one of the leaders with Firouzja there. So all he needs is a draw to secure first place, and I think he is on track to achieving just that. Wow. So Rook A5 played, and I think now King goes to B6, and are we going to see a repetition?
Repetition is possible. Yeah. We have it. They have repeated twice. We go full screen, maybe, Saj. Do you think Arjun repeats, takes the draw, or he fights on?
It's a tough call. Prachura, what are your thoughts? You think
I think it's a draw. I
think it's a draw, yeah?
In this position, it's very dry. There's hardly any chances of some pawn takes or anything.
King C6 played. Maybe can Firouzja claim it? No, he plays Rook A5.
He just plays on. I think at this point, both of the players. He just offers a draw, and there it is.
Ali Reza Firouzja guarantees himself at least first place. There's going to be a tie break only if Abdul Sadar Nodirbek wins. But Saj, amazing play by Firouzja. Won game 1 and game 2, and then all draws. And Arjun here tried his best, but couldn't really trouble Firouzja.
Absolutely. He's been rock solid, I think, throughout this event. He won the first 2 rounds and then drew the rest of his matches. By the way, speaking of Nodirbek, he has committed a huge blunder.
Whoa, let's go there.
And now Andrekin is winning once again.
Wow. Andrekin was rock solid. All 6 draws. But now when it matters, Nodirbek taking a little bit of extra risk. But this is just over, Prachura.
Yeah, I think he can't stop Rook E7 coming in.
Yeah, the knight has to move, and if I let's say if I go here, Rook check,
King C6, Rook B6 mate.
Oh,
that is just
beautiful.
Checkmate.
Let's show that actually. Check.
Yeah. Actually, that's a mate in 2 regardless. Even if you go King D8, I'm not going to take your Rook.
So how is he even going to defend this?
Yeah, like just showing that variation, a checkmate with a knight. Now you don't need to capture the Rook.
Yeah.
And what did he miss? If he just come back, knight D5 check, just inviting the king ahead, Sahaj.
And the interesting part is King C4 was the only winning move. If he played King D4, it was losing for Andrekin. So I think there's some small concession there was in the position, which perhaps is the reason why he went for such a risk, because of course Nodirbek is trying to play for a win. And I think we've been discussing this throughout the whole day. Those 2 A pawns, if you could just remove one of them, it would be amazing for Nodirbek. He could try to play for a win. They say rooks belong behind pass pawns, but not double pawns. Double pawns is the exception here.
It's a classic case where your pawn is your enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
True. Yeah. And Saj, what if I play the normal move, King C6, protecting my knight? How am I lost here?
It's a good question. I'm guessing you are attacking my knight on G7, but maybe I can go knight E6, knight D4. Yeah, you're too fast for me, Rakesh.
That's
Wait,
a
what?
blunder.
That's lost?
That's a blunder. Don't play my move.
No, that was my move. Wait, knight F5. There was knight E3. There was knight E3 checked, I think.
Oh, yeah. So you
knight F5, I think, is the move. I think, because you don't allow knight E3 check in this scenario, because the B5 rook is not hanging anymore.
Right. Yeah, so point being, here is a check. And you can't move this because there's a new queen.
Even without the rook, you can promote in this scenario. No checkmates possible. Knight d4 check, very important. Yeah, in that final position, if we could just go there for a second. Very interesting nuance in the knight e3. Rook takes e3, and if you promote to a queen, a1 queen, and then white goes knight d4 check. You have to capture the knight. If you played king d7, oh, by the way, we do have a draw between Nihal and Pranesh there, so a peaceful draw. I think 50% for both of these players. I think that's a fair score considering everything. But
you're both players playing their first ever super tournament.
Yes, to some extent, yes, for sure. I think Nihal played this event last year as well. If I remember,
not about the rating average was significantly lower.
That is
stronger
true.
players this time.
For sure. So coming back to this endgame, king c6. You were saying knight e6, I think.
Blunder.
Check, takes, queen. Now it's important that after knight d4, you see queen takes d4. Because if you played king d7 and if you were a bit greedy, rook e7, knight e6 is just a mate.
Still a mate, correct. And the winning line is you sacrifice the queen, king takes, and the b5 rook is gone. So if Nodirbek plays king to c6, the winning line is Sahaj with the other knight retreating move with knight to f5.
And that's the only move, by the way, that stops this knight e3 check idea. And that is just GG for Nodirbek. I think this is a bit sad because he tried to press as much as possible, but sometimes, these things can backfire like it is today. And looks like Andrekin, who has not lost a single game in this entire event. He has made all draws. He's going to end up with +1 score.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid tournament. Yeah. You're unbeaten throughout the event. It must feel good for Andrekin to have such a solid performance.
Absolutely. And I think with that, he will jump to 2715. I think that would put him in top 25 in the world.
By the way, we have a move. King c6 played, Sahaj. And also, please note, this is the last game of the tournament. If Andrekin wins or Nodirbek loses or draws, there is no tie break. Alireza wins the tournament. And Sahaj, knight f5 played. It looks like we are on the cusp of the tournament ending here.
And look at that, rook e8. He is trying to deflect the rook somehow. But wait, are we going to see it's not technique, this entire event, I've been hoping that there will be a queen sacrifice, somewhere. But I feel like I can take this. If rook takes e8 is winning, black is promoting to a queen and I will see that as a queen sacrifice, but I see it's not working. So never mind.
It's a draw.
I'll still take it actually.
So knight f5 has been played. Rook e8 on the board.
How is it a draw, by the way?
Good question.
That's a great question, actually.
Yeah.
No, Prachura, I think, is a chess player first.
Yeah.
Amongst everything. Sure. This is a typical chess player question. How is it a draw?
Check.
Or knight d4 check is so possible. Oh, by the way, he has gone knight d4 check. And we have some updates there. I think this probably makes a lot more sense because your knight on d5 is left hanging.
Correct.
Maybe you can just sidestep with the rook to a1 and that is good enough. Maybe c6 check is also... Oh, c6 check is winning, no?
Takes.
Rook d5 check. He plays it. And there it is.
Resignation.
Nodirbek has resigned and Andrekin wins with a +1 score. And I think with that, he secures a tied third place. And that means Alireza Firouzja is the winner of this edition's Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters. Huge congratulations to him. What a consistent performance. First 2 wins and the rest of the matches just a draw. Extremely solid. Firouzja OP.
Amazing play by the French star Alireza Firouzja. He'll be definitely happy taking up 25 lakh rupees as first place, as well as some crucial Grand Prix FIDE circuit points there, Sahaj. And of course, that lucky green sweater for Firouzja has some secrets. So let's see if you could, get Firouzja in the studio as well and for a quick interview. Maybe our producers are working on that, but nice fighting game by Nodirbek, but it was sadly not enough.
Yeah, sadly. I mean, these things happen a lot. I mean, when you try to play for a win, sometimes you have to take risks. I mean, if we could go back to some moments, when he played f6, I mean, he could have drawn so many times, I think, in this game, but he had to play for a win. And sometimes you overextend and that can also backfire to you.
Yeah, I think he had pretty much nothing to lose. If you're playing for the title, you have to go for the win. And
exactly.
He overpressed and he lost. And it's a classic case.
Absolutely. And
we
I
see
mean,
this happen a lot of times.
absolutely. And
in a
look
lot
at the
of tournaments.
sportsmanship. I mean, he lost the game. I mean, but it was all smiles because he realizes, okay, I tried, and sometimes it works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. And it's good to see the players analyzing afterwards. Undraking, I mean, what a performance by Undraking, and what a performance by Nodirbek as well. Both of them, I think, have been quite amazing in this event.
Absolutely light players.
And with that, I think we will also have a final standings, maybe if possible, because I think there has been a shift. And Rakin, there we go. Ali Reza Firuza in first place. Big congratulations to him. And Dimitri Anakin leapfrogs everyone, finishes in joint second place alongside Quantbox own Arjun Erigaisi.
Wow, and that means the tournament is basically over, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it, Chennai GM 2026.
But we cannot finish it without mentioning the last place player here, Sahaj. Your thoughts on the world champions performance?
I think overall, I wouldn't say that the games were bad in terms of how he played. I think he was playing amazing chess. First loss happened because of one wrong pawn move. Second, and the last of the next two games that he lost happened because he was trying to play for a win, similar to how Nodirbek lost today. I mean, it happens. I think it's sad to see, of course, world champion at the last place, but I think it happens, and I really hope he recovers before the world championship and, of course, before the Olympiad.
Yeah, hope so too. It's unusual to see Gukesh in the last position, but I know him pretty well. He's pretty strong mentally, and we all know he's going to come back really strong.
Absolutely. And I think for Gukesh, wishing the best recovery for him. I think at some point, you take a little bit of break and then you come back, and at least the silver lining is that he's above the 2700 mark, and when he plays the Olympiad, he will have that juicy 2700 rating, which is the sign of a super grandmaster. So hoping that wishing the best for him in the upcoming tournament.
Yeah, and with that, if we could also have the cameras back in the studio, Prachura, thank you so much for your insights in the very last end, and wishing you and the Fires American Gambits all the very best in season 4 of the GCL, the season 4 of Chennai Grandmasters as well. So best of luck to your team.
No, thanks Rakesh, thanks Sahaj.
Rooting
Thanks,
for
Sahil.
your team, actually. I think your team is extremely
I hope we have this on record. I'm going to play this in the loop during Global Chess League. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I'll take leave.
Yeah, thank you. And
Thank you so
I'd
much.
like to invite you back in the seat before we wrap it up. A big thanks to our main organizers. I would like to invite Shrikar and Manu as well. Just to say a big thanks to them and the Quantbox team, of course, sponsors of the tournament, as well as Arjun. And you could have Shrikar and Manu on screen just before you wrap up.
Let's go, Shrikar and Manu on stage, please.
Let's go. Let's have a
What
round
an
of
event this
applause.
has been, I think, bringing the top talent of the world right to Chennai. I mean, as if we didn't have enough with Vishy and Gukesh, but we have more now. And of course, one winner at the end, the 4th edition. And this is this is the end, yeah? 2026 Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters coming to an end. Any final words, Shrikar and Manu?
Hi, Mom.
But
Yeah, I mean, it was great.
Was
having
great.
You guys do the commentary, and it was a great experience. I hope everyone enjoyed.
I think we all did, yeah? We all did.
This is basically the team that made it happen, guys. So let's have a round of applause for all of them. Let's go.
Also, shout out to Grandmaster Srinath, also a big part of the organizing team. Keencho was here with us, also in commentary. You could have Srinath as well on stage before you wrap up. And big shout out to people behind the scenes.
Yeah, the entire GD1 team.
GD1 team. Yeah, shout out to Nick, Toto, Vansh, a producer as well. Thank you everyone as Srinath is making his way up. Sahaj, sum up Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters to us in a couple of words.
I think it was a very strong event. I think very fighting chess overall. We saw a lot of draws, but I think the games were so exciting. Love the format. Love the fact that you didn't add the additional time. By the way, it made the game so much more interesting for us as commentators.
Let's keep that for next year.
Yeah, let's please keep that, because I think shorter the time, I think the more we see the human side of players. So I really appreciate that.
Today is listening to that.
Wow. So I think an exciting event coming to an end. I think dreams have been broken and new dreams will be, taking place from here. And Firuza, congrats to him again for winning this event. And we know this event does change lives. We've seen for Gukesh, we saw it for Arvind, we saw it for Vincent, and now if Firuza could rise the ranks as well and touch the 2800 mark, and maybe he could be one of the next challengers for the World Championship as well.
Absolutely. And, very big thank you to everyone here behind the scenes. Thank you to lovely audience. We had Goofy Jen in the audience as well. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully, we'll be back for season 5 pretty soon.
Surely will.
So there's it, signing off from Quantbox Chennai Grandmasters 2026, season number 4 coming to an end. We'll be back next year with the action, with all the top players of the world. See you till then. Take care and bye-bye.